special program, thriller movie and action movie will not be presented today.
Welcome to the Stanley Cup playoffs. This afternoon from Olympia Sтэдиум in Detroit, the Detroit Red Wings Hockey Club brings you the quarterfinal game number 4 of the Stanley Cup playoffs between the Montreal Canadiens and the Detroit Red Wings. Detroit's Red Wing Hockey is brought to you in part by Labatt's. For beer at its finest, call for Labatt's, Canada's #1 beer. And by your Metro Detroit AMC dealers, the only place you can buy Concord, the all-new luxury compact. And by Little Caesars, a winner any way you slice it. And by Bank of the Commonwealth, trying hardest to help. So we are back here at Olympia Sтэдиум in Detroit. We'll be joined by about 16,000 and some fans, and I imagine a few more occupied, though certainly I hope not as many as we saw here Friday night. Sid Abel, the Red Wings are down 2-1. Now it's a best-of-4 series.
Well, this is a hockey game that they have to win if they're going to go anywhere in the series, Bruce. Their backs are to the wall. It's a must game. I think they could be capable. They played this team, the Canadiens, for 40 minutes the other night. I thought they were the best team on the ice. They made a couple mistakes in the third period and cost them dearly.
Well, the big figure may be a little man in this particular hockey game here this afternoon, Sid, a fellow named Jimmy Rutherford. The last 2 times he's faced the Montreal Canadiens, he's beaten them, shut them out here at Olympia, the final game of the season, and then, of course, won that game 4-2 at the Forum.
Well, Jimmy Rutherford is capable, and I don't think there's any goaltender probably in hockey that has beaten the Canadiens in his last 2 starts, and here he is starting again. You know, when you look back at the last 2 games of the season and the first 3 games playoffs, the Wings have won 2 and Montreal have won 3. So this is a home game. I'm sure the Wings will be up for it. I just hope they can stop the Montreal skating and the way they throw the puck around, Bruce.
Well, if there is one other key, it is perhaps a fellow named Guy Lafleur. We'll talk a little bit about that right after we pause for this.
To it. Take the time to see the view. Every color, every hue and blue smiles along with you. Piling up the hay or hitching up the sleigh on any night of day, you can make it a time to be happy. Make it a time for a blue. Smile with a fat blue. Blue.
I'm the owner of this great-looking car. It's my new AMC Concorde DL. And you know, I didn't spend a penny extra for all this luxury. Smart.
Individual reclining seats, plush interior, all standard. Can I pick a luxury compact? Smart.
A smooth, quiet ride. The nicest luxury of all. Standard on my Concorde. Smart.
The AMC Concorde DL, America's new luxury compact, and its owners?
Smart.
Little Caesars Pizza, nobody loves it like a kiss fun to eat. Nobody loves it like Little Caesars Pizza. Nobody loves it like my favorite treat. Nobody loves it like I did, like I did. Little Caesars Pizza.
Look for our ad in the news and free press TV books for a free pizza. Sid, if a vote were taken today among knowledgeable hockey people, the fellow who would be voted the greatest player in the league would have to be Guy Lafleur. the most prolific scorer, certainly, and yet in the 3 games the Red Wings have played Montreal, he has only 2 assists. He's the guy that scares you. He just can't stay down there.
Well, you wonder how long they can keep him off the board, and I guess you have to give credit to Paul Woods. Paul Woods has been causing him all kinds of trouble. I've never seen Guy Lafleur so frustrated as he was here the other night. He's taking penalties that he ordinarily doesn't take. He even threw a stick on one occasion. But Guy Lafleur is a great hockey player, Bruce. If they could blank him again today, the Wings would have an excellent chance.
Well, it's going to be interesting. It's a game that we certainly are looking forward to, no matter what happens here this afternoon. Game number 5 will be played Tuesday night. That'll be our next broadcast telecast out of the Forum in Montreal. 2 teams coming out onto the ice here at Olympia Stadium to get this game underway. We'll be back with the opening face-off in just a moment.
Hey, Timmy, you know what you're watching?
Yeah, it's a show about...
You're watching the RCA Color Track with electronic varactor tuning.
Gee, Dad, I just remembered some homework I have to do.
And 100% solid state.
Living with a Highland appliance salesman can be a bit trying at times.
Great dinner, dear.
Oh, I cooked it on our new microwave.
Oh, you mean a new Lipton with touch control?
I'll get it.
You know, that temperature memory probe is great. Cooks 3 meals at once.
You see, every Highland salesman spends 100 hours in specialized training.
Now, this car stereo has fast forward, plus the power booster on rewind, and the speakers, well, you just gotta hear them. Three-way triac.
So while it might be a bit trying living with a Highland salesman, it's just because he's always trying to be the best there is.
Water, and does it all for that same low price.
Oh, my, you certainly know a lot about your work, young man. I could listen to you all day.
Yeah, my family feels the same way. Now, this refrigerator...
Highland, everything you never expected from an appliance store.
So you see the 2 teams in the white uniforms, the Detroit Red Wings, and in the darker jerseys, the red jerseys, the Montreal Canadiens. Kenny Dryden will be in goal for Montreal and the Red Wings with Jimmy Rutherford. The 4th game of the best-of-7 series. Well, there are 2 newcomers in the Detroit lineup. Number 21, J.P. LeBlanc, who played this season for the Kansas City Farm Club, and number 29, Larry Giroux. LeBlanc was their captain down there, not dressed for the hockey game because of that broken wrist that he suffered midway in the game here on Friday night, is Greg Jolly, and also not in uniform for this game, and perhaps because of a penalty he suffered that turned that game around a bit in the first period, Rick Boness. So just how much they'll play, of course, is, I would say, somewhat questionable because they really haven't had a chance to work out with the team that much. See Errol Thompson. But I imagine that the knowledge that a worker like J.P. LeBlanc, a good solid defenseman like Larry Giroux is available, has to be some comfort to Coach Bobby Crom. And now, prior to the start of this hockey game, Bob Taylor with our national anthem. Bob Taylor with the national anthems, and now you see the officials for the hockey game. Dave Newell, Neil Armstrong, Claude Bouchard. This will be the first appearance of Newell with the Red Wings this season, so far as the playoffs are concerned. Kenny Dryden, who plays just about every game of any importance for Montreal, if not all of them, in the nets for the Canadiens again tonight. And here's a fella whose job it will be to see if he can win 3 in a row against the most powerful scoring machine that we've seen in a long, long time, Jimmy Rutherford. So the game is underway. Dennis Hextall, Netamansky, and Libet, the Red Wing forward line. The play is at center ice, and Tommy Bergman dumped it back into the Canadian zone. Going back after it, Guy Lapointe. He played it to Jarvis. Jarvis to Rejaan Houle. He sweeps it into the Detroit zone. Rutherford cleared it over on the right side to Netamansky. His pass off a skate, picked up by Reed Larson into the Canadian end. But he played it way out in front of Nick Libet, and Montreal sends it back out center ice. Back after it, Jarvis. He dropped it back to his own blue line, and Bill Nyrop clears it into the Detroit zone. Here now Lapointe moving right in with a shot. He fired it wide as the Wings lost it right at the line. Hextall brings it back out center ice. He's stopped by Lapointe. Guy Lapointe dumping it back into the Detroit zone, and now the Wings move out again. Here's Reed Larson over the line. Larson went in along the boards, held it there, played it behind the Canadian net, nobody there. Here's Hextall, though, stealing it in the corner. Dennis Hextall lost it, Lemaire picks it up. Jacques Lemaire moving out now for Montreal. Lemaire on the move, into the Detroit zone with a shot, and Rutherford deflects that to the corner, and Lemaire had everything on it. Larson tipping it ahead to Netamansky. He failed to hold it. Lafleur with a shot, and it's knocked away by Rutherford. And now Hextall. And it's Hextall to Netamansky. He takes it into the Canadian zone. Paul Woods was checked by Steve Shutt. Guy Lafleur back out at center ice. McCourt snowed him up when the puck came right to Woods at the Detroit blue line. Now it's dumped out center ice. Lafleur back after it. Has to wait for Lemaire to come back onside. Lafleur just plays it back into the Detroit end. Billy Lahead away from Steve Shutt. Now Lahead coming out. He put it right on the stick of Lafleur, and then Lahead went in and grabbed him. They'll still on the delayed call. The play is in the Detroit zone, and finally it's grabbed by Jimmy Rutherford. And Billy Lahead just handed that puck away and then grabbed the Canadian player. A pause in the action. No score. We'll be back in a moment.
It's here, a very special beer from Labatt's. Labatt's Special Light, naturally brewed beer with 1/3 fewer calories than our regular beer. Labatt's Special Light, a very special beer brewed for lightness, refreshing, less filling beer with real Canadian beer taste. Labatt's Special Light, a very special beer.
Well, Sid, Billy Lahead made a bad mistake, and then he doubled it, really.
Well, he made a beautiful play to get away from Shutt, but as he come out towards his own blue line, he was going to try and make a pass all the way across to Paul Woods, and he put it right on Lafleur's stick. Then he realized that he made the bad play, and so he just grabbed a hold of Lafleur from behind to take him off the puck again, and of course got the penalty. But I can't understand when Reed Larson skated down the right side, got well over the blue line in the first minute of play, he didn't try to take a shot on the net, and he was in a real good position.
Face-off is whistled down. Boy, that was the occasion here the other night. All night long, they continually were dropping that puck on face-offs where somebody had moved in too quickly. This time it was Larry Robinson. Now, Robinson on the power play is used on the left wing. That's so he can jump right out in front of that Detroit goal, a big guy, and hold his own there. This time, though, Dale McCourt won the face-off. The puck bounces back out center ice. Lapointe back after it. Dumps it off to Savard. Savard handing it back to Guy Lapointe all the way back into the Montreal and Larry Robinson. The head is off for holding at 1:52 of the first period. And the Canadiens' Lambert failed to get the pass. Harper broke it up, shoots it back in. Paul Woods is digging into the corner after it. He played it in behind the Canadian net. Lafleur is there, lost it to Woods. Woods then dumped it behind the Canadian net again, and Lafleur goes back after it. Out on the right side, moving out now, Guy Lapointe. Canadians with the extra man as Lapointe goes over the line. Slowed up by Harper, that puck bouncing in the Detroit zone. Here's Lapointe back on the line to Lafleur. He sets up Savard. Savard put it right out in front, and Rutherford knocks it away. Back toward the line, Dale McCourt couldn't get to it, kept in by Lafleur. And the puck up into the crowd when Tony Bergman took a swipe at it. Out in front of the Detroit goal, Terry Harper and Lambert were battling for position, and the referee Newell skated over to them and I guess must have said something like, slow it up a bit, boys.
Well, you know, when they have Robinson out there at about 6'3", Lambert is 6'3", Lapointe is 6'1", 6'2", Savard 6'2", and Lafleur at about 5'11". They have four real big fellas, and they get out in front of that net, can really screen, and Jimmy Rutherford's not a big goaltender, and he's not the type of a goaltender that can push a big fellow out of the way, so the Canadians have a lot going for them.
A minute 4 remaining in the penalty to Billy Lahad. McCourt again won the draw. Tommy Bergman wraps it off the boards, and down the ice it goes, all the way to Dryden in the Montreal net. He played it into the corner. Paul Woods went in after it. It bounced away from Lapointe, picked up by Woods. Woods playing it all the way back out center ice to Tommy Bergman. Now Tommy just went back to his own line, played it off to Dale McCourt. McCourt's pass hit Savard. Paul Woods knocked it away from him. And the Canadians have it back in their own end. Here's Larry Robinson. He pulled away from McCourt. Over the line into the Detroit zone. Lambert played it behind the net. Robinson digs it out there. Larry Robinson put it right out in front. It came back to Savard with a shot. Rutherford grabs it. Right back to Savard again at the blue line. He hands it off to Guy Lapointe. Lapointe back to Savard on the left side. He took the shot. That was knocked away out in front. McCourt dug it out. It went in behind the Canadian net. McCourt was knocked away from the puck. Here now, Guy Lapointe with a shot. Rutherford stops it. And the rebound went right through Lafleur. Taken now by Guy Lapointe. He's checked by Tommy Bergman. They battle in the corner for it. The penalty to Lahad is over. And the Wings did some kind of a job, and this crowd appreciates it.
Well, it's certainly a great way to start. You don't like to take a penalty early in the game, especially against a club like Montreal. But what a fine job Paul Woods and Dale McCourt did up front, and of course Bergman broke up several plays back at the blue line, and Paul Woods was just all everywhere, and of course Jimmy Rutherford, when the play did get through to the net, he made 2 or 3 big saves on screen shots. That
now the play is in the Detroit zone again. Reed Larson played it out. It went off the skate of Errol Thompson, but it's going the length of the ice. Back after it, Emblom, he touches it, an icing call. And the play back into the Detroit zone. So there's no score, and we've played 4 minutes, 5 seconds of the first period.
Scotty Bowman has quite a record. He's won 74 games and lost 48. That's quite an impressive record in playoffs.
Just being there that many times. Lemaire now again with Shutt, and this time Cornway on the other wing. Reed Larson and having a battle along with Steve Shutt. They were starting that a moment or two ago, and the both of them are going to go off. So a pause in the action with no score, and we'll be back in just a moment.
We're at the Thomas Mall in Phoenix, Arizona to see how people compare the new AMC Concord DL with the latest Volare Sport Coupe.
It's got a lot more class than the Volare.
I said this would be $800 to $1,000 more, and it should be.
$1,100 more. The Concord is actually priced less than the Volare. How about that?
It's unbelievable. That's amazing. I didn't even think they build a car like that for that price anymore.
Wrap it up. I'll take it home.
The new AMC Concord DL. The luxury Americans want. The value Americans need.
Reed Larson, Steve Shutt go off together. A roughing penalty to Larson and a high sticking penalty to Shutt.
Well, it appeared as though Shutt was the one that really got the stick up in Larson's face early.
Back now to the live action as the play bounces out to center ice. John Amell, he sends Errol Thompson into the Canadian zone. He heads toward the corner, took a shot right and had to come up with a big save on that. Now Rejaan Houle, that's Dryden's first save, I believe. John Houle handing it off to Guy Lapointe. He shot from the Detroit blue line. That went off a stick and up into the crowd. So it's Larson for roughing, Steve Shutt for high sticking at 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Rejaan Houle had a great first game when the Canadians defeated Detroit 6-2. Pierre Mondu and Houle are the 2 forwards for Montreal. Detroit with Thompson and Saint Laurent. Al Cameron is back along with Hamel. Cameron hands it off to Saint Laurent, now to Hamel. His pass was knocked away. Saint Laurent picks it up, comes out center ice. Saint Laurent having problems, picked it up a second time. He's dumped. There'll be a penalty coming up to Houle. And now Detroit will be playing 4 men to 3 out in front of the goaltenders as Houle will go in with Montreal's second penalty.
Andre St. Laurent was having a little trouble carrying the puck. The ice might be just a little dampened along the boards. He was having trouble pulling it along with him, and he did a little stick handle. He got around Houle the first time, but then Houle from behind had to pull him down. It's a bad penalty to take as far as Houle is concerned because Andre St. Laurent wasn't going anywhere. And it gives the Wings a real good opportunity now if they can get in the zone, get established, get a face-off deep in Montreal's zone, and see if they can get the puck back to the point, and if they can get them to shoot the puck from the point.
Tell you what they're going to do, this Detroit team. You think they're offense-minded. They have 4 forwards out now. Dennis Hextall, Nick Libet, McCourt, and Netamansky. Canadians with Gainey. And they have Savard and Guy Lapointe, and Canadians win the draw. Libet chased Lapointe into the corner, but Guy Lapointe still controlling it. He's on the move. And will bring it all the way back into his own zone, eating up time. Now shoots it to Gainey at center ice. Canadians doing a masterful job right now. Gainey turns it back into his own end with a pass to Lapointe, and the Wings haven't seen the puck. And they've had about a half a minute of Houle's penalty go by the boards. Now Gainey missed it, and it comes out center ice. And Dale McCourt has it there. McCourt handing it off to Hextall. Hextall, he gave it to Netamansky, 2 of them over the line. Netamansky drove a shot way wide. Puck came to the line. Hextall kept it in, but his pass broken up. And this time, Lapointe drives it down the ice. So the Wings have had the one shot. That's by Netamansky. And it wasn't on the net. Netamansky off to the side of his own goal. Now handing it to Dale McCourt. Libet over on the left wing. Here's McCourt moving in. Dale McCourt from the circle with a shot. The rebound bounced right to the goal off of Libet. And it's grabbed there by Dryden. Libet was cutting in, and that rebound coming right at him, but it was just enough behind him that it hit his skate.
Had Nicky Libet been able to get a stick on it, he had the over half of the net to put it in. A good play by McCourt. The defenseman didn't challenge him as he was coming in from the right side. He came in where he had a good angle, and he let fire. Dryden made the big save, and the puck was there to be put in, but Libet couldn't get a stick to it. And he hit his skate just about went in at that, Bruce. Dryden had to be real quick.
But you don't think there would have been an argument if it had gone in off the skate?
No, they can't argue that because they argue when a player deliberately kicks at a puck or will move his foot to try and deflect it in. Nicky Libet was skating, so it was just a case of the puck come off the goaltender and hit him, and if it had gone back in, it would have been a legitimate goal.
17 seconds remaining in the penalties to Larson and to Steve Shutts. Now the play came right back to McCourt, but again, that face-off has been whistled down.
You know, I like to see them go with 4 forwards like this, but boy, they've got to be careful because sometimes forwards forget to come back and protect the 2 other fellas, and they're not defensemen. They can get in trouble back there.
Here's McCourt in the circle now to Libet. Libet turns with it, being watched closely by Robinson, and Robinson tied him up. They take it to the boards, hold it, and a face-off stays still in the Montreal zone. Nick Libet waiting for somebody to break loose, and nobody did. So they took it to the boards and keep the face-off in the Montreal end. Well, Nick has scored the last 3 goals against Montreal. The last one Wednesday night at the Forum, and then the first 2 here, the only 2, Friday. Jarvis in against Hextall. And this time Jarvis won the draw, going after it. Nyrop, he shoots it down the ice. And the 2 players are back on now, Larson and Shutts. Wings still have the extra man as Hextall moves out. Dennis Hextall over the line into the Montreal zone. Pulls up along the circle. His pass gets through now to Dale McCourt. McCourt's pass, though, is broken up, and Nyrop shoots it down the ice. And 20 seconds remaining in the penalty to Houle. Dale McCourt off to the side of his own goal. He put it right on the stick of Lemaire, and it was Netamansky that covered up. Deep in the Detroit zone, and the play is still there. Reed Larson pulling away from one check. Hands it off now to Hextall. He was pinned off the puck. Larson played it into the Montreal zone. Netamansky. Oh, he had Errol Thompson wide open out in front. The pass was broken up, and a good play by Robinson. Now the penalties are over. Houle is back on. Both teams at full strength. Robinson broke up the play in the Detroit zone. Starts 3 of the Canadians out. Houle to the line. Here's Lemaire with a shot, and going low. Tommy Bergman blocked that. It went off the glass. Coming back with it, Hextall. He's been on a long time. Canadians carry it all the way back to their own blue line, and Robinson has it there. Polonich moved in, tipped it away, but Robinson covers up. Now it's Larry Robinson. His pass to Steve Shuttt into the Detroit zone. Drops it for Robinson to Shuttt. It went to the side of the Detroit goal. It came back toward the blue line. Savard trying to hold it in. He didn't get it. Oh, and San Laurent just missed a bouncing puck, or he'd have been on his way. Puck is back into the Detroit end. Dennis Polonich scooping it out to center ice. Lafleur knocked it down with a stick raised high, so they stopped the play. A pause in the action. No score in the game. We'll be back in just a moment.
How does the Bank of the Commonwealth help me? Well, I got my checking and my savings there, but more important, when I need help, they really understand me. I mean, this guy here, he's studying law, and this bum, oh, he's into medicine. I mean, every old man wants his kid to do better than he did. So, between my back and my bank, my kid's got a future. Hey, Doc, start operating.
Trying hardest to help. That's the Bank of the Commonwealth.
My son, the judge.
For your customized advertising and promotional needs, including pens, glassware, desk accessories, T-shirts, lighters, imprinted golf and sportswear, you call Alex at 534-4800. From the face-off, play goes into the Detroit zone. It bounced off to the side, and Dennis Polonich feeds ahead to San Laurent. Errol Thompson goes chasing after it into the corner in the Canadian zone. He dug it out of the corner, turns with it, took a backhand shot. That was knocked down. Tommy Bergman keeps it in off the rim of the circle. Now San Laurent played it right out in front, and Polonich was there and didn't get the stick on it. And the Canadians shoot it down. Going after it is Lafleur with Errol Thompson. Thompson took it off to the side of the net, and with the help of Larry Giroux, played it away. Now here again is San Laurent. It rolled off his stick. Guy Lapointe back out center ice with Lafleur. Guy Lafleur wheels it along the boards in behind the Detroit zone, goal. And Giroux goes in after it for the Wings. Larry Giroux, his pass skipped away from Polonich, but then Riceboro brought it back in offside. And they'll be back out over the Detroit blue line. And here comes J.P. LeBlanc out on the ice. So Bobby Crom making use of the fresh troops. And his line right now has J.P. LeBlanc at center ice, Reed Larson on the right wing, and Dennis Hull on the left side. So he's pulling out all stops.
And they're against one of the real good lines of the Canadians with Carnwire, Ricebrough, and Lambert. So they have a job to do, I'll say that.
On the face-off, puck went up into the crowd behind the Detroit bench. 4 penalties, 2 aside, no score in the game. We've played 8 minutes, 38 seconds. First period. LeBlanc wins the draw. Now it's Terry Harper. His pass back to J.P. He fired it into the Canadian zone. Dryden missed it behind the net, but covering up Savard. Now here come the Canadians out. Lambert's pass. Riceboro tipped it into the Detroit zone. And that's with Hamel who went in to cover up. Larson brings it back out. Hands it off to Paul. He took a long shot. Dryden reached out and grabbed that. Played it along the boards on the right side for Cornwallis. Now here come the Canadians. Riceboro, long shot again. And it was stopped by Rutherford, who cleared it to the corner. Jean Hamel went in, played it away from one man. Hull failed to hold it. Right out in front, Cornwallis. Oh, and Rutherford came up with a big save on him as Cornwallis was wide open right out in front of him. As the Wings are not moving it out of their own zone, here's Lambert. He was checked this time by the Red Wing player Harper. Reed Larson starts back. He dumped it into the corner. Dennis Hull going in, but Dryden out of the net. Played it, not out. LeBlanc keeps it in. Put it right out in front. And Larson was there, and he just couldn't pull away from Larry Robinson, who had him tied up. Now Savard, 3 of the Canadians back in. Here's a pass to Cornwallis. He's checked by Harper, and Dennis Hull goes in after it. Wings move out again. Dennis Hull wound up from center ice with a shot that Dryden grabs. Now Kenny Dryden playing it behind his goal to Larry Robinson. McCord is out now with Paul Woods. Here's Robinson. He was checked by Woods right at center ice. To McCord, to Larson. Here's Larson with a shot, and Dryden made the save. Oh, and Larson had Woods wide open, and he shot from well out. Tommy Bergman back inside the Detroit zone. The puck coming out center ice, Woods. Now Woods over the line, hands it off to Billy LaHead with a backhander that goes wide. Larry Giroux holds it in. He shot way wide. Puck along the boards. Dale McCourt goes in after it. Hands it off to LaHead. Billy LaHead tried to bring it out in front, and he was checked. A good move by Naira. Now the Canadians 2-on-1. Here's Gainey over the line. He handed off to LaRouche, and he fired it high and wide, and he had everything on it. Rejaan Houle played it into the corner in the Detroit end. Tommy Bergman went in, but Gainey beat him to it. Dumped it deeper into the corner. Larry Giroux takes it to the boards, and he holds it there. Now kicks it loose to Tommy Bergman. And Tommy's pass, Billy Lahed failed to get to it, but it's good by Nyrop to center ice. Canadians play it there. Guy Lapointe. He played it into the corner. It rolls in behind the Detroit net. Tommy Bergman in after it. Now Tommy played it on the left side to Paul Woods. Woods turning at center ice. Fired it into the Canadian zone. Giving chase to it, though, is Steve Shutt. Ahead to Lafleur. Here's Lemaire. Lemaire with a shot at Hamel, and Lowe has blocked that. Now Jean Hamel goes after the loose puck in his own zone. Played it ahead. It came to center ice. Nyrop lost it there. Chased it back into his own zone and hands it to Lapointe. Guy Lapointe's pass broken up by Libet, and then Lapointe himself covered up as Libet just failed to get loose. We have played 11 minutes, 45 seconds, no score in the first period. John Hamel deep in his own zone, and he's stripped. And the Canadian player is going to go off on the delayed call. The Wings have control. Harper starts out ahead to Nedomansky. Here's Nedomansky with a shot. Dryden made the save. And it's McCourt trying to hold it in. It came back out center ice. Still a delayed call. McCourt playing it now to Jean Hamel. Hamel's pass skips away from Harper, and the Canadians will play it, and the penalty will be called, and Detroit will have the extra man. And again, a pause in the action with a score 0-0, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Labatt's introduces a bright new light. Labatt's Special Light, naturally brewed beer with 1/3 fewer calories than our regular beer. Labatt's Special Light, a very special beer brewed for lightness, refreshing, less filling beer with real Canadian beer taste. Labatt's Special Light, a very special beer.
Well, Steve Shutt is in the penalty box, off for hooking at 12 minutes and 17 seconds. You talk about action, Sid. It's been sustained.
Oh, I should say, Jean Hamel made a terrific play here, and Shutt pulled him down. And surprisingly, you know, Shutt doesn't take many penalties. He's taken 2 here in the first period.
Now the Canadians have Savard at center ice. He lifts it in the air, plays it back into the Detroit end. Al Cameron is on as one of the point men. The play is deep in the Detroit zone. Finally, Hextall got it loose, and Detroit moves out. Here's Hextall handing it to Reed Larson. Larson over the line. Larson still controlling it, headed toward the corner. Robinson bumped him. Hextall in behind the goal. Hextall tried to center it. Nedomansky took a swing at it, and it's Libet who holds it in. Nedomansky back to Libet, who was tangled up in his skates. He got a shot wide. Robinson has broken his stick, but the Canadians clear it out, and here's Jarvis picking it up. Going into the Detroit zone with Riceborough. The pass to Riceborough, and they score. That puck went off of Jimmy Rutherford up into the net, and Montreal has a shorthanded goal and lead 1-0.
Well, talk about breaks. The puck was shot high out of the Canadian zone. Al Cameron tried to reach it. He tipped it with his glove, and that put Riceborough onside. He made a terrific play across the front, and as Jimmy Rutherford made a sliding stop, it hit his pad, bounced up in the air, and just trickled over the goal line as it come down. But it all started way up at the Montreal blue line on a play that Cameron tried to knock down with his glove. Just tipped it enough to put Riceborough onside. And it was a 2-on-1 break then, and Riceborough made a good play on it.
Well, Jarvis gets the assist and Riceborough's goal. His first to the playoffs, and it's a shorthanded goal. So now Tommy Bergman comes out to play the point along with Harold Thompson, Saint Laurent, Polonich up front. Puck is in the Montreal zone. Thompson into the corner behind the net to Saint Laurent. He played it back, but Lemaire intercepts, and he starts Gainey out. Gainey over the line into the Detroit zone around McCourt. He took the shot. He scores! He took a one-handed shot, and Rutherford never made a move on it. And 2 short-handed goals, and boy, that hurts.
Well, there again, you're playing a forward back on the point, and this is something you always have to worry about, especially when they have players like Gainey that can really pick them up and put them down. This is the first bad goal, I would say, that Jimmy Rutherford has let in the playoffs. He was coming in an impossible angle, and with the one hand, he was well tied up by McCourt, but with one hand, he gave it a little wee dish. Jimmy Rutherford thought he had it, but he missed it, and it went in between the post and Rutherford. The Canadians are full speed now.
Well, that one really hurt. McCourt had a pretty good check on Gainey. Lemaire draws the assist on the second shorthanded goal. It's been a costly penalty to Detroit, though the penalty was against Montreal. Wings have the play in the Montreal zone. There's a shot right on by Thompson, or rather by Saint Laurent, knocked away. Thompson put it to the goal crease, and again it was driven out in front of the Montreal net. The goals coming just 24 seconds apart. Riceboro and Gainey, both of the wings holding the extra man. And the Canadians again pick it up and clear it down the ice. And the penalty time is just about over to Steve Shutt, and the Wings probably be happy about that. Here's Savard. Shutt is back on. He played it into the Detroit zone. Harper knocks it down. Barry Harper scooping it back out to center ice. Canadians come back in. Here's Cornwallis, a centering pass off the skate of Hextall. Now it's Harper turning in behind his own goal. His pass bounced out to Larry Robinson. Robinson shooting it right back into the Detroit zone. Rutherford played it in behind his own goal. Hamel cleared it on the right side. Nedemansky failed to hold it. And it's Robinson back after it. At center ice, Cornwallis shot it back into the Detroit end. Rutherford stopped it, handed it off to Nedemansky. His pass broken up by Cornwallis. Libet slapped it away from him, but then Harper's pass broken up. And the Wings have a state of shock right now after giving up those two short-handed goals 24 seconds apart. Larry Robinson turning back of his own goal. Playing it off the boards to Cornwallis. He sends it out center ice. Harper has it there. And Libet just bangs it into the Montreal zone. Canadians will bring it right back. Dennis Hextall went in. He's going to get a penalty as he upended Savard on the delayed call. Here come the Canadians. Robinson over the line. Puck came back out center ice. Riceboro holds it there. Now it's Gainey kicking it loose, picking it up into the Detroit zone. Gainey trying to work through. He played it to the corner. Savard is grabbed there by Hamel, still holds it. And finally, as Nedemansky gets possession and Hextall had been doing the checking, the penalty is called. So a pause in the action. The score, Canadians 2, Detroit nothing, and we'll be back in a moment.
Little Caesar's Pizza, tastiest in town. A winner always likes it all the way around. The carry-outs are good and hot, great for nighttime snacks. Or sit down at Little Caesar's, just order and relax. If you want variety, there's a family in for you. It's a winner, come in and see Little Caesar's.
Look for our ad in the news and free press TV books for a free pizza. Well, Dennis Hextall goes off. A tripping call to Hextall at 15:44.
And you can't afford to take penalties now when you're down 2-0. You know, the Canadians don't give you a breather at all. They're just skating, buzzing all the time, and doesn't seem to matter if they're shorthanded or not.
Puck knocked down at the blue line. Here's Lafleur. He scores. Guy Lafleur. The Wings had the puck, failed to clear it out. Robinson knocked it down, and Guy Lafleur gets his first goal of the series. Just like that, it took not very long, 6, 9, or 15 seconds of the power play. Boy, what had been a good close hockey game with the Wings in command part of the time suddenly has turned right around.
Well, you couldn't blame Jimmy Rutherford on a shot like that. No. Lafleur was over all by himself. Rutherford come well out to try and cover the angle, but Lafleur is one of the leading goal scorer in the National Hockey League. When he's left alone, no one near him at all, he's going to put the puck in the net. But the Wings have come unglued, Bruce. They were playing so well, and they just, the two quick goals just seem to knock them right back on their heels. They're not playing positions now at all.
Now the play is out at center ice with Jarvis of Detroit dumping it back into the Red Wing zone. Tommy Bergman circling in back of his own goal. Now it's Bergman ahead to Paul Woods. Woods played it into the corner in the Montreal end. It was dumped all the way back out center ice. The goaltender, Dryden, has lost his stick, but the play was whistled down, and they'll come out over the Montreal line on an offside for the face-off.
And I don't think there's a team in hockey that can protect a lead as well as the Montreal Canadiens. And when you give them 3 goals, it's going to be an uphill battle.
Get the Wings in Montreal. Sid, you'll recall
Oh, yes, they were down 2-0 and come back and won it 4-2.
Play is back at the Montreal blue line. Here now Rejane Houle playing it into the Detroit end. Larry Giroux and chasing after it, sweeping it over on the right side, Billy Lahead. He holds it out center ice now. J.P. LeBlanc is centering this line. It's LeBlanc with the puck, playing it into the Canadian zone. Billy Lahead trying to work in. He took the shot. It's bouncing around, and it's still loose in the net. Oh, I can't believe that puck will stay out like it did. It bounced around that goal crease. Here's Gainey going around Giroux. He took a shot over the top of the Detroit goal. That puck just bounced toward the line, away from the line, back toward it, and it just won't go in, that Montreal goal. So again, a pause in the action. It's 3-0 Montreal. We'll be back in a moment. See CB Specialists for the complete line of CBs, car stereo equipment, and Fuzzbuster radar detectors. There are 4 convenient locations to serve you, so when you want the best, see CB Specialists. The new size hot dog from Peschke's featured at your local Kroger supermarket. The Peschke new size hot dog available at Kroger. Gift certificates for our interviewed guests are provided by Osmond's Menswear. Osmond's with 5 locations: Tell 12 Mall, Southfield, Westbourne Mall, Dearborn, Tell Huron Center, Pontiac, Tech Plaza, Warren, and Meadowbrook Village Mall, Rochester. Sid, you talk about chances.
Well, Billy Lahead made a terrific play here. He got around the outside, took a backhand shot, and then put the puck right out in front, and Paul Wood couldn't quite maneuver it in. It was everywhere but in.
Now the play stays in the Detroit zone. Lemaire and Cameron take it to the boards and hold it there. Canadians with 2 shorthanded goals and a power play goal have gone into a 3-0 lead, but the 2 shorthanded goals just put the Red Wings in a state of shock, you might say. And the crowd here, too, at Olympia. San Laurent, Polonitz, Harold Thompson for Detroit. Steve Shutt played it back to the line. There's a shot knocked away by Savard. It was Thompson who blocked the shot. Savard broke his stick. Canadians clear it back into the Detroit zone again. Lafleur going in after it. Rutherford came out of the net. Jimmy Rutherford stick handling back of his own goal. Played it in the corner. Thompson failed to get to it. It goes back to the Detroit goal again. Rutherford tries the other side this time. Polonitz just took it to the boards. He's content to hold it there. And Polonitz still kicking away at it. Canadians got it loose. It went off to the side of the Detroit net. Here's Lemaire back on the line. Robinson is shot high and wide. Lafleur takes it off the board. Put it out in front to Lemaire. And there's a loose puck. A shot fired by Shutt is knocked away by Rutherford. And as it lay to the side of the goal, he reaches out and grabs it.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, Bruce, when you said they're like playing, when the Wings are playing as if they're in a state of shock. They had possession of the puck 2 or 3 times. Polonitz, instead of trying to move it, was going to freeze it. First thing you know, it's out in front of the net. Jimmy Rutherford made 3 saves on a play where carelessness on the Wings' part of trying to clear the puck out in front of him.
So the face-off stays to the left side of the Detroit goal. Shutt fired one. It came right back to him. He let another go. Rutherford was there on the short side to knock them both away. Dennis Hull moves out now to play the left side on the line with Nedomansky and Hextall. There's a shot from the blue line that slid to the side of the net, and again Rutherford holds it. And a quick look at the bench would show me no sign of Nick Libet. So Libet evidently has gone to the dressing room. Play to the left side of the Detroit goal. Puck bounced off to the side of the Detroit net. Hamel takes it in behind his own goal. Now Jean Hamel handing it back to Dennis Hextall. It went right through the skates of Hamel. He went back to get it. He fires it off the glass all the way to center ice. Gets the linesman Neil Armstrong there. They take it to the boards and hold it. The face-off will be out over the Detroit blue line. The Wings were actually carrying play.
John Hamel's son at the hockey game today.
Puck bouncing back into the Detroit zone. Hamel goes in behind his own net. Now Hamel starting out on the left side to Hextall right at the Detroit blue line. His pass deflected off Cornway. Harper goes back to get it. Harper center ice to Nedomansky. Now to Dennis Hull into the Montreal zone. Hull fired the shot. It bounced right out in front again. And Dryden reached out to grab it there. Riceborough and Harper swung sticks a little bit and out in front of the net. Dennis Hull, Robinson, Hextall. Cornwallis is a little unhappy with Terry Harper pulling at his stick. All this taking place in front of the Montreal goal. And the referee, Dave Newell, just waves his hands back and forth, saying, cool off, fellas.
The Wings have had scoring opportunities. The puck was at Dryden's feet right there. It bounced off his chest, but there was no one there. You've got to give the Montreal Canadian defensemen credit. They're big fellas. They keep things pretty well clear out in front of Dryden.
Well, I'll tell you one thing we haven't seen today, Sid, and it's been conspicuous by its absence, and happily so, has been a thing thrown on the ice.
Well, it's really nice to see, and possibly if the Wings did score a goal, we might happen to see one. I would hope that that would be it.
Face off in the circle to the right of the Detroit goal. Hextall won the draw, but it went off a skate, and the Canadians will play it out. It's fired down the ice by Rejaan Houle. Off the boards, right to Jimmy Rutherford, and he hands it to Larry Giroux. Being chased by Gainey. Now the pass of Nedomansky deflected high in the air. Picked off by Tommy Bergman. Bergman got it out center ice. Hextall has it there. He played it back to Nedomansky. He dropped it off for Dennis Hall, and he's checked before he can move. Kept in at the line by Tommy Bergman. Here's Tommy Bergman moving out in front. He took a weak backhand shot. That's knocked away by Guy Lapointe. Here come the Canadians back. A minute to go in the first period. Houle fired a long shot. Rutherford stopped that. Larry Giroux in behind his own goal. Now Giroux ahead to Dennis Hall. It came back to Hextall. His pass broken up by Steve Shutt. He lost it. Tommy Bergman back to Dennis Hall. He tried to set up Billy Lahead. The puck went loose. Canadians, Lemaire firing it out center ice again. Tommy Bergman has it. Off the boards to Billy Lahead. And Lahead took a long shot wide. It came away from Dryden right out in front. But it's Lafleur there to clear it out of danger. Guy Lapointe. Lapointe down the boards on the right side. Checked by Paul Woods. Al Cameron, a long pass, went behind Dale McCord. He picks it up, sweeps it into the Montreal zone. 10 seconds to go in the period. Bill Nyroff in behind the Canadian net. He's going to shoot at the length of the ice. It'll be off to the side of the Detroit goal. And Larson back to touch it. There are 2 seconds remaining, and a face-off stays in the Montreal end. Well, the Red Wings, I thought, were carrying the play, had outshot Montreal up until the 13-minute mark of the period when Steve Shutt went off. And the Red Wings suffered, to put it mildly. A shorthanded goal by Riceboro, and then Bob Gainey let one go that close in with McCord having him pretty well tied up. And Jimmy Rutherford, I don't know exactly what he did. It's easy to say from up here, not much from down there, where Jimmy might have had an entirely different view of it.
2 seconds to play. Bobby Crom has decided to take Rutherford out of the net. This is a very safe play. The fans probably feel that you're leaving an empty net, but there's no way that Montreal should be able to score on an empty net. Detroit's putting 6 players out in the ice. They're hoping to win the face-off back to Paul Woods or Billy Lahead and take a shot.
Dale McCord will go in against Jacques Lemaire, the circle to the right of the Canadian goal. No netminder in the Detroit net with 2 seconds to go. McCord, if he can win the draw, will hit either Woods or Lahead, but he did not win the draw. Lemaire did. It goes to the corner. Lapointe holds it there, and the buzzer goes to end the first period of the hockey game. So at the end of one period of play, the score, Montreal Canadiens 3 and the Detroit Red Wings nothing.
Winter skies and countrysides, grab a dream and take a ride. Leave behind those worldly cares and follow the open air. And when you hear those friendly sounds, it's good times all around. It's a good time and you're happy. It's a good time for a blue. Time for smiling. Sailor, that's blue. Blue smiles along with you.
Wow, look at that! A Jeep CJ! Hey! Now that's what I call exciting. Bet she's having fun. Boy, is that Jeep CJ rugged. That Jeep four-wheel drive is tough enough to go anywhere. Wow, now that's my kind of fun. Hey!
The famous Jeep CJs, now available with options like automatic transmission, hardtop, even extra room.
Hope you don't mind my dropping in.
Come to Jeep Country in a Jeep CJ. We wrote the book on four-wheel drive.
Did you know that adventurous life is still a prime reason for men and women to join today's Army? I'm Colonel Ed Stokey, commander of Detroit's Army Recruiters, and I can tell you about adventure. Adventure means ranger training, learning electronics, investigation, or physical fitness. For others, it's the opportunity to travel. We guarantee your choice of adventure with our 12-month delayed entry program. Why not make it your personal adventure today? Call me at 964-0600 or contact your local Army recruiter.
Here at Olympia Stadium, the two teams playing scoreless hockey for the first 13 minutes of the game, and then with the Red Wings holding the extra man, back-to-back shorthanded goals on Red Wing mistakes, you'd have to call them. Rysbrough and Gainey just broke it open, and the Canadiens added a power play effort a few moments later, and they lead after a period of hockey by a score of 3-0. The Red Wings 8 shots on the net and Montreal 9 in that first period. But win, lose, or draw, the Red Wings have supplied a lot of entertainment, a lot of fun, far more than anybody had anticipated this 1977-78 National Hockey League season. And one of the big reasons is Ted Lindsay, the Red Wing general manager, who has a long and a glorious career in the National Hockey League. And let's take a moment now to see some of the highlights in this illustrious career.
In 1950, the Detroit Red Wings won the Stanley Cup on an overtime goal by Pete Babando in the 7th game of the final series against the New York Rangers. This victory celebration was the first for the Wings' all-star left winger Ted Lindsay. He would enjoy 3 more during his illustrious playing career. The Red Wings were a powerhouse in the early 1950s and were led on offense by one of the greatest lines in hockey history: Gordie Howe, Sid Abel, and Ted Lindsay, the production line. While patrolling left wing, Lindsay earned the nickname Terrible Ted for a boisterous style of play, which netted him close to 2,000 minutes in the penalty box before his career ended. After Abel retired, Howe and Lindsay kept rolling as they flanked a variety of centermen, including Dutch rival Alex Del Vecchio and Normie Ullman. Lindsay played in the first All-Star game in 1947. He was voted to left wing on the first All-Star team a total of 8 times. The names Ted Lindsay and Gordie Howe were closely linked for a long while. Lindsay had been with the Red Wings for 2 seasons when Howe joined the club. They were line mates almost continuously for the next 11 years. In the early and mid-1950s, the NHL's most bitter rivalry involved the Red Wings and the Montreal Canadiens. Only once in that decade was the Stanley Cup won by a team other than the Red Wings or the Canadiens. The city of Montreal, then as now, was a hockey hotbed, and whenever the Red Wings came to play at the old Montreal Forum, the place was jammed. The great Detroit lineup from that era included names like Rybo, Prestide, Goldham, Kelly, Howe, and Lindsay, who was the team captain. Ted Lindsay wore number 7 during most of an NHL career that saw him score 379 goals in regular season play and another 47 in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Detroit-Montreal rivalry was intensified by the presence of all-time great superstars on both teams. Lindsay and Howe were the big names up front for the Red Wings. Guarding the nets for Detroit in that era was one of the best, the legendary Terry Sawchuk. The Canadiens, of course, had the Rocket, Maurice Richard, who, like Howe, played at wing. That controversy can still spark an argument. The Olympia in Detroit was the scene of 4 Red Wing Stanley Cup triumphs in the 1950s. In 1954, Tony Leswick was the hero with his cup-winning goal in overtime in Game 7 against Montreal. The Stanley Cup victory in 1955 was Lindsay's last. He played 2 more seasons in Detroit and then was traded to the Chicago Blackhawks, where he played on a line with Ed Litzenberger and Todd Sloan. After 3 years with the Blackhawks, Ted retired. But 4 years later, in 1964, Sid Abel, then coaching in Detroit, coaxed him back into uniform for one more season. In 1965, he made retirement stick, but kept close to hockey by playing for the old-timers and performing as a color commentator and analyst on NHL telecasts in the United States. Last year, he returned to the Olympia as general manager of the Red Wings, and now Ted Lindsay and aggressive hockey are back in Detroit.
General manager Ted Lindsay of the Detroit Red Wings, who has watched his team fall behind 3-0 after one period of play here at Olympia Stadium to the Montreal Canadiens. And we'll be back to Olympia in just a moment.
Little Caesar's Pizza, nobody loves it like a kid. Fun to eat, nobody loves it like Little Caesar's Pizza. Nobody loves it like my favorite treat. Nobody loves it like I did, like I did. Little Caesar's Pizza, nobody loves it like me.
It's wild. It's Chrysler's great giveaway. Get $100 worth of Chrysler outboard accessories free when you buy a new striped Chrysler outboard 35 through 140 horsepower. And get $50 worth of Chrysler outboard accessories free when you buy a Chrysler 4 through 25. So tear into your Chrysler outboard dealer now, where the savings are great and the giveaway is wild. Offer good, limited time only.
How does the Bank of the Commonwealth help me? Well, I got my checking and my savings there, but more important, when I need help, they really understand me. I mean, this guy here, he's studying law, and this bum, oh, he's into medicine. I mean, every old man wants his kid to do better than he did. So, between my back and my bank, my kid's got a future. Hey, Doc, start operating.
Trying hardest to help. That's the Bank of the Commonwealth.
My son, the judge.
Ah, I see what the problem is. You have the bug. Yeah, the CB bug. You want to get into CB, but it is so confusing. You need to see a specialist. CB specialists. They have the know-how to put together and install the right system for you.
Like this new Craig-AM/FM stereo with 40-channel CB, and it's less than $150.
So take it from Dr. CB. See the specialists. CB specialists. In Dearborn, Warren, Royal Oak, and Livonia. 10-4? I make a little joke.
Well, Sydney, if there's ever a backbreaker in hockey, it's when you've played the best team in the world right to a standstill and actually have had the better scoring opportunities, and then you have a power play, and instead of working on it, you give up not one, but two shorthanded goals.
Bruce, it's hard to believe. The Wings were playing so well, and it was a thrilling first period. But Montreal is so explosive. You just don't make mistakes against this Montreal hockey club. They got every break in the world. I thought the first goal, when with Detroit having the man advantage, Rysbrough, the puck hit Jimmy Rutherford, just seemed to roll over him and go in the net. The second one was a bad goal on Jimmy's part. McCourt come back and got a real good hook onto Robinson, and Robinson only had one hand on his stick, and he just seemed to dish it a little bit. I don't know whether Jimmy let the puck go between himself and the post or whether it went through his legs, but if Jimmy Rutherford had just stood up, took the angle on the play, there was no way Robinson should have scored. Then we were talking prior to the start of the game, Bruce, to the fact that Lafleur hasn't scored a goal in 5 hockey games, or 4 hockey games. You can't keep him off the board all the time, and the Wings came unglued. They weren't playing very well positional hockey, and Robinson made a perfect pass across to Lafleur, and he beat Rutherford cleanly. Jimmy couldn't be faulted for that at all.
I think Larry Robinson leads his team in scoring now in the playoffs with the assist on that goal, and I tell you, I'd have to give him a lot of credit for that one, because that puck was cleared to the line. He had the stick up, I'm going to say, about this high, to knock the puck down, to hold it in at the line when I thought it was going to go down the ice, and I think so did the Red Wings. And then he made the play to Lafleur. It was so open, it was difficult to believe, and you just can't leave him open like that, or he's going to score on you. The shots and goal are 9 and 8. I dare say until the 13-minute mark of the period, when Detroit gave up the 2 shorthanded goals, they had outshot Montreal. I'm going to guess 6-7 to 2 or 3.
Well, you know, the Wings were playing so well, but You know, another oddity about this first period, this is the fourth game against Montreal, and I'm counting the 2 games at Atlanta. Detroit had not given up a first-period goal in, well, 5 games, and here we are in the first period of the 6th game. And then to have 2 shorthanded goals, you get burned once when you have a man advantage, hurts, but to have them come right down and do it again really hurts. And the Wings really, for a period of 3 minutes or so after their first quick goals, they just didn't do anything right. They couldn't make a play to come out of their zone. And Montreal, Bruce, we've watched them all year long. There's not a greater club at causing teams to make mistakes. When they can freewheel and chase you, you're in trouble.
But then after the 3 goals had been scored, it was during that time that the Wings did everything but put that puck into the net. Paul Woods had been shoved into the goal crease and still managed to give it a tip, and it missed by a couple of inches and came right back out in front, too. If the Wings could come out in that second period and get one, they'll make a hockey game out of it.
Oh, definitely. After all, they were behind 2-0 up in Montreal, and they come back and won it. If they can score the next goal, we'll still see a good hockey game.
And Jimmy Rutherford, I am sure, will be tightening up in the Detroit net, or at least he'll be working toward that. You can rest assured. But as we mentioned earlier, win, lose, or draw this one, the Wings and the Canadiens right back in Montreal Tuesday night. And there wasn't anybody you could have got a nickel bet a few months ago that would said, what, the 5th game of the 2nd round of the Stanley Cup, the Red Wings will be there?
Oh, they've had a terrific season, and they're not outclassed even. They're down 3-0. They haven't been outclassed. They'll still give it a run, I'll tell you that.
So the score here at the end of 1 period of play, the Montreal Canadiens 3, the Detroit Red Wings 0. Will
Coke adds life to memories of the good old days. Looking back, we realize we've changed in so many ways. About the good old days. We may never recapture the way we were then, but the warm, loving feeling can come back again when we sit and recall all the good times. Coke adds life.
No matter what kind of car you buy, no matter where you buy it, nobody can give you more effective rust-proofing than PolyGuard, the rust-proofing system from Polyoleum, with a positive 5-year limited repair or replace warranty, with no mileage restriction. When you want a new car, see your car dealer. When you want professional rust-proofing, see your Polyoleum professional. Better than all the rust. Check the yellow pages for the Polyoleum dealer nearest you.
You can taste it in our delicious Devil's Food buttercream layer cake. Taste it in our coconut marshmallow layer cake. Taste it in our butterscotch coffee cake. You can taste it in everything Sanders makes. The bit of magic Sanders candy makers put into everything Sanders makes. And you can't taste it anywhere else.
Again this year, from Art Van, the brand name retailer of the year, comes special large quantity factory purchases at great savings. Brand name items like these rockers and rocker recliners from Lazy Boy in your choice of styles and fabrics. Super quality at super savings from $149 at Art Van.
At Olympia Stadium in Detroit, the officials, the referee Dave Newell and his 2 linesmen, Neil Armstrong and Claude Bouchard, back out onto the ice. And penalties played indeed a great part in that first period. Canadiens' 3 goals came with a man in the penalty box. But unfortunately for the Wings, the first 2 came with one of their own men in there, one of the Canadian players, Steve Shuttt. Sid, very often the shots on goal in a period of hockey are interesting, and anybody...
Well, no one dominated. Lafleur had 2 shots for Montreal, and all the others were just single shots. And surprisingly for the Wings, Dennis Hull, who hasn't seen that much action in the playoffs, had 2 shots, and the other 6 shots were taken by just individual players. The big thing, Bruce, is to watch and see if Nicky Libet comes back. He wasn't on the bench late in the first period.
Well, we're watching the Red Wing players file out onto the ice now. He is usually one of the latter ones out, and he is there. I can see him over along the stick rack. So Nick Libet is indeed coming back, and boy, how the Wings would miss him. Well,
The first play, the pass come across to Rysbrough, and he just got a little bit of the puck, and it's funny, again, possibly if Jimmy Rutherford had stayed on his feet, that puck wouldn't have gone in the net. But Jimmy Rutherford went down. Gainey's play was kind of a surprising play. McCourt did all you could ask a player to do. He put the hook on him, and he kept Gainey from being able to cut across the front of the net. But Gainey made a smart play, Bruce. You got to give him credit. Unless you shoot the puck, you don't score goals. Lafleur's goal was just a case of him picking just inside the post. Rutherford come out about 15 feet, and Lafleur shot it to hit the inside of the post, and he's very capable of doing that.
Well, you can't take anything away from Jimmy Rutherford. He's played two very strong games against Montreal his last two out, but I don't think there's any question he could have had either of the first two, the short-handed goals. Neither was a tremendously hard shot.
Oh, and Jimmy Rutherford has had a good season and a terrific playoff.
Now the play is left in the Detroit zone. The Wings don't clear it out. Here's Rejaan Houle turning with a backhander. And Rutherford got to that as the Wings were careless in their own zone. Reed Larson handing it out now to Nick Libet. Libet fired it into the corner of the Montreal end. Nyroff went in after it. Tipped it far enough for Jarvis. Jarvis back to Nyroff, and the puck fired back to the Detroit blue line. Tommy Bergman hands it off to Libet. Libet took a bouncing shot that Dryden grabs with Hextall turning in on him. That's stopped as Dryden held the puck, and the face-off stays in the Montreal zone. Kenny Dryden, who stopped all 8 of the Red Wings shots in the first period.
He is considered, I believe, Bruce, by pretty well everyone in hockey as the premier goaltender in hockey. He plays, as you mentioned earlier, he plays nearly all the games. They put Larocque in once in a while to give him a breather, but not too often.
Well, I'll maintain he's got to be, if not the best, right up there on top. But what goaltender, Sid, wouldn't like to play in front of the defense?
That's right.
And the way this team controls the puck. Now the play goes back into the Montreal zone. Serge Savard turning in his own end and starting out. Ahead now to Jarvis. Jarvis fired it off the glass. It goes to the right side. Dennis Polonich has it there. Now Polonich moved away from Lafleur, slid it out center ice, and Savard sent it to the Detroit line. Jean Hamel turns there. His pass off the skate of Harper. And then Harper picked it up again, but he was checked by Savard. And Lafleur turned back into his own zone. Now to Larry Robinson, to Steve Shutt. Here's Lafleur. He wound up for a shot. Rutherford stopped that. And Hamel sent the rebound to the corner. Didn't keep it in, though. Steve Shutt back now to Robinson. Here's Savard with a shot. They score! And again, that puck just hit somebody out in front and slid slowly in. And it's now 4-0 Montreal.
I think the play went off Lemaire, I guess it is. The shot from the point. I'm trying to figure out the player that cut across in front. Could be Shutt. No, it's Lemaire. Lemaire got a stick on it, and it just rolled in between Jimmy Rutherford's legs. But you can't fault the goaltender on plays like that. Shots from the blue line that are knocked down in front of the net are awful tough to handle. Jimmy just didn't get the legs closed quite soon enough. And the Wings suffer another real setback, really. Their only hope was that they could score the first goal and make a game of this.
Now the play is at center ice where Larry Giroux of the Wings cleared it ahead to Paul Woods. He scoops it off the boards in behind the Montreal net. Bill Nyroff in after it. Now the Canadiens move out. Ahead to Lemaire. He took the long shot, and Rutherford grabs that. Robinson gains one of the assists. I didn't catch
Savard, I believe, got the other one.
2-point men mark along the Red Wing blue line. Now the play is in the Montreal zone. They hold it to the boards. A face-off in the rim of the circle off to the right of the Montreal net. Pause on the action. Canadiens 4, Detroit nothing. We'll be back in a moment. Sable with you from here at Olympia Stadium in Detroit. Montreal Canadiens into a commanding 4-0 lead in the early moments of the second period. And the play in the Montreal zone, but Canadians shoot it right up into the crowd. Guy Lapointe trying to play it off the glass. So they'll bring the face-off practically out in front of the Montreal. They're going to take it into the circle, I guess. Still in the Montreal zone. Dale McCourt with Woods and Lahead. Wings would like to just get something on the board here. Reed Larson shot, block board ever got through, and here come the Canadians on a breakaway. And then the pass from Cournoyer skipped off Lambert, went into the corner in the Detroit zone. Cournoyer went in and dug it out. It's still loose in the Red Wing end, but here's Reed Larson coming out with it. Now Larson down the boards on the left side to Billy Lahead over the line, and he fanned on the shot. He was open, and he just plain fanned on the shot. Canadians clear it back. It'll be picked up by Cournoyer, and the play whistled down on the offside. And the Montreal bench is yelling at the linesman Claude Bouchard, but he turned around and just yelled back. They'll keep the play just over the Detroit blue line.
I think the remarkable thing about this Montreal club is that the Wings can't take just look at anything. They've got to jump on it because the Canadians are always skating. If there's a loose puck somewhere on the ice, if you just hesitate a moment, you're going to be beaten to it because they are really after it.
John Amell in his own zone. His pass knocked away by a Houle. Now there's a quick shot hitting the side of the net was Laroche. It came to Netamansky. He just cleared it out to center ice. Larry Robinson holds it there. It was tipped back to the Canadian line, and Montreal in control. Gainey sweeping it along the boards. In behind the Detroit net with Harper in after it. Over on the right side to Netamansky. A long pass. Libet gave chase to it. Tipped it to the Canadian line. He was checked right there. Dennis Hextall had to wait. Didn't wait long enough with Libet coming back out of the Montreal end, and the offside face-off just over the Canadian line. Pierre Larouche, he's got Rejane Houle on one wing, and on the other side is Bob Gainey. Canadians are a strong hockey club. A fellow like Mario Tremblay, who didn't make the lineup all season, just sitting this one out tonight with Larouche playing. He didn't play the first two games in Montreal. Now it's Canadians in behind their own net, shooting it down the ice. Harper had a stick on it, couldn't hold it at center ice. Amell had to move in after it. It's played out in front of the Detroit goal to Hextall. Dennis Hextall dropping it for Jean Hamel. The Wings lose it out in front again, and Shutt was all over it. Harper covers up. Netamansky and Hextall moving into the Montreal zone. Netamansky turned around. His pass broken up by Lafleur. And the Wings now are being checked very closely. Here's Lafleur back into the Detroit zone. Tried to get it to Lemaire. Lemaire was hauled down. There's a shot right on by Shutt, knocked away by Rutherford, but a penalty is going to be called as Lemaire was hauled down by Terry Harper. So a pause in the action with a score of 4-0 Montreal. We'll be back in a moment.
Now remember, stay together and good luck. Let's move.
These three vehicles have set Jeep country on its ear. The fabulous Jeep CJ Golden Eagle, the spectacular Jeep Cherokee Jeep, Jeep Honcho, one dynamite pickup, 3 four-wheelers made to make it when the roads get bad.
Yeah, Golden Eagle, Honcho, Jeep.
Excitement on wheels. Which one would you pick? Jeep wrote the book on four-wheel drive.
Well, Terry Harper moves in at exactly the 4-minute mark of the second period off for hooking.
Well, Harper just got involved in trying to take the player off the puck, and he hooked him up under the arm.
And he did indeed take him off.
Yes, it was a penalty all the way.
So Canadians with a 4-goal lead now have the extra man in the play deep in the Detroit end. But Dale McCourt won the draw, and again Robinson knocked it down at the line, and then trying to play it back to Savard. The puck came out center ice. Guy Lafleur has it there. Now Lafleur played it to Lemaire. He jumped in over the line too quickly, and it's offside. Face-off comes right back to the center ice circle. The usual array of signs around Olympia Stadium.
And this crowd is fairly quiet today.
Paul Woods, Dale McCourt are the two penalty killers up front for the Wings, with Larson and Tommy Bergman. Now Serge Savard back in his own zone, hands it off to Larry Robinson. Played it into the Detroit end. Tommy Bergman stopped it there, lifts it in the air, and backhands it back into the Montreal zone. Robinson will go back after it. A minute and a half left in Harper's penalty. Canadians start out again. Robinson ahead now to Lemaire, to Lafleur, into the Detroit zone, going to the corner. Lafleur back of the Detroit net. Guy Lafleur still in control, pulled up at the side of the circle, and McCourt checked him. It's taken again by Lemaire, back on the line to Savard. Savard took a shot, knocked down. It goes in behind the Detroit net. Lemaire digs it out there. In the corner to Lafleur, back on the line to Savard. Now Larry Robinson. Robinson hands it back to Savard at the blue line. He took a shot wide. Into the corner now, Lafleur. Guy Lafleur brings it back on the line with a pass to Larry Robinson. Back to Lafleur. Lafleur faked the shot. Robinson with a shot, and that's knocked away by Rutherford. Dale McCourt controlled the rebound and rather calmly cleared it off the boards and down the ice. And 40 seconds remain in the Detroit penalty. Now Serge Savard heading out. His pass on the right side to Larry Robinson. Coming out center ice, Lambert. Over the line into the Detroit zone. Wheeled it into the corner. Tommy Bergman bumped Mondeau. Puck still back of the net. Here's Mondeau digging it out, and he had Lambert wide open out in front of the Detroit goal. He played it back to the line to Savard. Savard's pass, Mondeau scores. Oh, Mondeau came whipping in, and Savard hit him with a pass right on the nose.
I don't know if that was intended or not. I think there was a little luck to that. He just made a wild pass out across the front of the net. Mondeau had never stopped skating. He made a big circle out near the blue line and then cut right back in. Savard just threw it over there as more or less to get rid of it, and it was just perfect for Mondeau. He was about 10 feet out in front of the net, and it was all in one motion. He put it in there at 100 miles an hour, and Jimmy Rutherford never made a move. He had no chance whatsoever on it.
Rookie Mondeau having quite a series. That's his second goal on the power play at 5:46. He had a couple of assists in the first game. They gave Lafleur the other assist on it as he sent it back to Savard. So it's Mondeau from Savard and Lafleur. The puck going to the Detroit net again, and Jimmy Rutherford. He's been belabored since the 13-minute mark of the first period. And he holds on to it. The face-off stays to the left of the Detroit net.
When you come up against a hot club, or a club that's going to score a lot of goals on you, you always hope that it happens on the road, not in front of your home fans. These fans have been so wonderful to the Wings all year, and I think they're startled, too, that Detroit would be down 5-0 after playing so well for the first 12 or 13 minutes. But when the dam broke, this Canadian club know what to do and take advantage of every little mistake that's made.
Earl Thompson coming out of his own zone now, being checked by Mondeau. Thompson turns with it, played it back into the Canadian end. Montreal with 2 power play goals and 2 shorthanded goals in the game. Here now Lambert moving down. Lambert's pass to Mondeau. He was checked at the Detroit line by Larry Giroux, and the play went back in offside. So the face-off, center ice side of the Detroit blue line. A pause in the action. Montreal 5, Detroit nothing. We'll be back in a moment.
Ah, the endless possibilities of Peshki meats and your imagination. Imagine a new way to enjoy that summertime standby, Peshki hot dogs. Prepare them your favorite way. Add bits of green pepper or whatever you like to your favorite kind of melted American processed cheese and pour. Your imagination makes it possible. Peshki makes it perfect.
Peshki makes it perfect, 'cause Peshki really cares.
Gift certificates for our interviewed guests are provided by Osmond's Menswear. Osmond's has 5 locations: Tell 12 Mall, Southfield, Westbourne Mall, Dearborn, Tell Huron Center in Pontiac, the Tech Plaza in Warren, and Meadowbrook Village Mall in Rochester. Now the play is at center ice. The Wings down by 5, and the puck right back into the Detroit zone. Harold Thompson turning away from Houle, lost it. Here's Gainey trying to get loose. It's still deep in the Detroit end. Gainey heading to the corner with it, played it back to the line. Engblom took a shot. Rutherford kicked that to the corner. Going in after it, Jarvis sent it back to the line again, and Thompson tipped it by Engblom. It comes down the ice, back into the Montreal zone, and Larry Robinson back after it. His pass too far out in front of Gainey. It's cleared, not out. Here's Gainey intercepting with a shot, and he just grazed the goalpost with it. Jarvis bumped in along the boards by Saint Laurent. It came loose. Right out in front, Hull handed it off to Gainey, and he shot wide. It's just all Montreal. Emblon moving out in front. He was checked. The Wings finally tip it ahead for Dennis Polonich. Now to Saint Laurent and Thompson. He drove a shot that Gainey deflected up into the crowd. And they'll keep the face-off inside the Montreal blue line. 12 years is a long time. 22 years.
Yes, they've not won a playoff game against Montreal since 1956, but surprisingly, Bruce, this is the 12th series to be played between these two teams. Detroit have won 7, Montreal 4, and if Montreal were to win this, it would be their 5th series. Detroit have won 7 series against them.
Oddly enough, the Wings have won at Montreal, but they've not been able to do anything in 22 years here at Olympia against the Canadiens in the playoffs. Now Dennis Hextall ahead to Libet. Libet going into the Canadian end. He took a shot, and again, Lupien this time on for the first time. Sent that one up into the crowd.
You know, when you talk 22 years, you must remember, though, that there were 8 years in a row that the Wings were not in the playoffs at all, so it cuts that down. You look through the stats from years ago, the Wings and Canadiens met in the finals several times, and Detroit, back in the heydays in the 40s and early 50s, when Detroit was the powerhouse, Detroit dominated the play.
Now they go in behind the Montreal goal. It's cleared out on the right side to Lafleur. A good quick pass to Lemaire. Schatt's cutting up with him. Here's Lemaire over the line. Fakes the shot, trying to go in. Put it right out in front, and Steve's shot is wide open, and he scores. And now it's 6-0, and the roof has just caved in on the Red Wings.
Well, I feel sorry for Jimmy Rutherford because you can't fault him. Lemaire just turned the defensemen, Bergman and Harper. He turned them both the wrong way, and he just continued to go, and then he made a perfect back pass that was just unbelievable. He let on he was going to shoot the puck. He got Harper turned sideways. Schatt was all by himself. I think even I would score goals like that, Bruce, if players give me a pass across the front with the goaltender pulled one way and then just come in the open side and pick up the puck and put it in the empty net.
Beautiful play.
It's too bad that this had to happen with a full house here at the Olympia, but the Canadiens will not let up. They'll score as many goals as they can. They don't believe in just resting on their laurels. If they can score a dozen, they'll score them.
And Lafleur draws the other assist on the goal. Play goes off to the side of the Detroit net, and Rutherford grabbed it there and holds on to it. Well, Jimmy gave up a couple of questionable goals, the first 2 goals of the game to Rysbrough and Gainey, both short-handed. But from that point on, you can't lay too much on him. And that last one, there was nobody in the National Hockey League could stop it.
That's right, the last 2, in fact. Nobody was going to stop Mondo's shot, and nobody was going to stop the goal right there by Schatt. And Jimmy Rutherford.
Sid, a couple of
friends. This is Jack Adams and Johnny Mowers, who was the goaltender back in 40-41 when the Wings 41-42 and the Wings won the Stanley Cup. Mowers was, in fact, he got a couple shutouts in the final series.
Now the Wings clear it out to center ice. Detroit has that line of J.P. LeBlanc with Dennis Hull and Reed Larson now. Play is at center ice. It went off LeBlanc's skate, picked up by Hull. Hull had trouble with it. Larson knocked the Canadian Cornwallis down. And Hamel picks it up and sweeps it in behind the Montreal net. Here's LeBlanc. Let it go back to the line. Giroux with a shot right on. And Dryden made his first save of the period, I believe. And it was a good one. Now the Canadians come right back. LaRouche over the line into the Detroit zone. Rutherford knocks his shot away. Larry Giroux turns in behind his own goal. Dumped it out on the right side to Reed Larson. Now to J.P. LeBlanc. He's stripped. There's going to be a penalty coming up to Montreal. And the Red Wings, who trail by 6, are going to have the odd man. Pause in the action with a score. Canadiens 6, Detroit nothing, and we'll be back in a moment. Pьерр LaRouche off for tripping.
And it was a legitimate trip, there's no doubt about that, but I don't know if the Wings should be elated when they have the man advantage. The last time that Montreal had a man in the penalty box, the Canadians scored 2 shorthanded goals. So.
And that's the last time they've had anybody in the penalty box, midway in the first period. Dennis Hextall, Livet, and now Paul Woods out on the right side. And the Wings have Dale McCord and Nedemansky back at the point. So 5 forwards on the power play right now. In behind his own goal is McCord. Dale McCord coming out on the left side. The pass ahead to Nick Livet. Livet fired it off the boards to the side of the Montreal net. Woods came in, knocked it away from Dryden. It went off the boards, came right back out in front. Woods was there, but Dryden grabbed that puck. And Paul Woods just doesn't quit.
Well, that's the big thing, and I'm sure that Bobby Crom is talking to his players. He has to be disappointed. Woods just kept following the play, and Dryden was going to freeze the puck, and Woods beat him to the puck, but he couldn't put it in the empty net.
Now the face-off to the right of the Canadian net. Montreal wins the draw. And Saward gates it out, then turns it back into his own zone. Woods chasing him. So's Hextall. They knocked it away from him. It's loose back of the goal. Hextall was knocked to the ice. Livet got it loose. Hextall couldn't pull away. Now it's Paul Woods taking his man in along the boards. That's Gainey. Stopped at the line by Nedemansky, but he lost it to Jarvis. And the Wings shoot it back into their own zone. Back after it, McCourt. He starts Paul Woods out. Good pass on the left side to Hextall. Over the line with Nedemansky. Hextall pulled up at the blue line. He tried to set up Livet and went right between his skates. And Savard's pass. Knocked away by Livet. Into the corner now, Woods. Back of the net, Nick Livet. Still in the Canadian end. Nick Livet bumped in along the boards by Guy Lapointe. It came loose just as it did. The whistle stopped the play. And the face-off to the right of the Montreal net, and we're exactly halfway through the second period. 49 seconds remaining in the Montreal penalty.
And the Wings have had the play in deep several times, but they're not taking advantage of their point men on a power play. They're not getting it back out to the points at all. They're trying to make little plays behind the net. And you've got to get it back out and let these fellows from the point shoot the puck and hope that somebody will screen the goaltender or deflect it. Canadians, that's their big thing. They get it back to the point.
Dan Leroy wins the draw. Dale McCord at the line. His pass broken up by Houle. Kept in by Reed Larson. He shot wide. He had everything on it, but it was way wide. Play rolls in behind the Canadian net. They bounce after it back there. Polonich tied up Lapointe. It's dug away by Earl Thompson. A centering pass by San Leroy broken up. And the Canadians got it to the line. That's all. Here's Thompson with it. Thompson put it to the side of the goal. And the Wings just couldn't find the handle on it. They were all around in front of the net. And now Rejaan Houle picks it up and clears it out center ice. 12 seconds left in the penalty. Dennis Polonich goes back into the Montreal zone. Polonich's pass broken up. And then making a defensive play on it was McCourt, or Lemaire would have been all the way down the ice. He just upended him. Now the penalty's over. The teams are back at full strength. Here's Reed Larson on the move. Carried into the Canadian zone. The puck is knocked away from him, and McCourt has it at center ice again. Dale McCourt off the boards now to Reed Larson. Larson rolls it back into the Montreal end. Canadians' Larry Robinson goes back after it, being checked by San Leroy. They go into the corner after it, and it's fired out to center ice. I'll tell you this, the Wings are down 6 goals, but they're working. Reed Larson doing the work right now. Played it to the Montreal end. He's checked there. Here come the Canadians. They're 3-on-1. Over the line, Mondo to the floor, and he scores. Wings had everybody trapped up the ice. They came down 3-on-1, and Pierre Mondo again, this time setting up Lafleur for his second goal.
And they make it look so easy. You just don't make mistakes like this. 3-on-1. They can't do anything wrong, and it comes over to Lafleur, and he's got Jimmy Rutherford really out of position altogether because Rutherford was going to play a shot by Mondo. He put it across to Lafleur, and Lafleur put it in the empty side. It was just like a practice goal.
So Lafleur getting his second goal of the game, his second of the series. Poole draws the other assist along with Mondo. Wings have the play in their own zone. Livet played it into the corner. It comes now to Nedemansky. This Montreal is just a machine, and they have opened up. Here's Nick Livet moving back into the Canadian zone. Pulling up along the blue line, firing it in behind the net. Along the boards, Harper kept it in, tried to center it, but he was checked too closely, and Larry Robinson starts right back out into the Detroit zone. Here's Lafleur, and his shot deflected to the corner. Going in after it now, Nedomansky, 3 of the Wings coming back. Nedomansky, he was stopped before he ever got through, and the Canadians really checked. Now it's Engblom back from Montreal. Goes to the corner with Harper, deep in the Detroit end. Harper pulled him down, and Dennis Hextall comes up with the puck. Hextall coming out center ice. Playing it off to Jean Hamel, back into the Montreal zone. His pass broken up. The Canadians again shoot it out center ice. Harper has it there. Terry Harper clearing it back in. It goes in behind the Montreal net. Engblom took a whack at it, fired it all the way down the ice. Larry Giroux will go back to touch it. There will be an icing call against Montreal, who lead this hockey game 7-0 with 7 minutes to play in the second period. So again, a pause in the action with the Canadians 7, the Red Wings nothing, and we'll be back in just a moment.
You make it mean something no matter where we are. Just sharing in a Coke along the highway. Let a little more. Coke is life and everybody wants a little life. You make it mean something you add a little more. Like Coke.
J.P. LeBlanc was picked as an all-star in the Central Hockey League this year and was a very valuable player to that Kansas City club. And he is playing his first game as a Red Wing. Play is in the Montreal zone. It's jammed in behind the Canadian goal. Savard goes in after it. Serge Savard clearing it ahead now to Big Gilles Lupien. He took the long shot. Rutherford blocked that. Tommy Bergman has it. Now Bergman's pass off the skate of Hextall. Canadians play it right back in. With it is Tommy Bergman. Bergman working away from Lambert. Puck scooped off to the side of the Detroit, or rather the Montreal goal. Lupien played it away from LeBlanc. Here now the Canadians moving Lambert, and he set up Riceborough, but the play was offside. And we have 6 minutes and 25 seconds to go. I don't believe it's the fact that the Red Wings are playing that badly, Sid. It's the fact that this Montreal machine suddenly just moved in.
Right. They're clicking on every cylinder now, and they're just making it relatively easy looking. But the Wings being behind, the Wings are playing a game that they ordinarily don't. The defensemen are trying to rush with the puck and getting caught out of position. You don't catch the Canadians with defensemen up ice, yet they do carry the puck a lot.
Dennis Hull cutting over the line into the Montreal zone is offside. So they bring the face-off right back out center ice.
You know, when we were in Montreal, Bruce, I had occasion to talk to Jean Beliveau and, of course, Toe Blake the afternoon we sat over and had a very enjoyable afternoon with him. And they talked about this team as possibly one of the greatest Montreal teams, and they raved about the defense more than they did about the fact that Lafleur and Shatton, these fellows score 50 and 60 goals. Toe Blake said he thought the difference of hockey from years ago on this club was the fact that they have such big and good defensemen.
Dennis Hull chased the puck into the Canadian zone. He sets up Giroux. Giroux took a weak shot wide. Hull sent the rebound right out in front. That's knocked away by LaPointe. The Canadians again send it back out center ice. Al Cameron shooting it back in. J.P. LeBlanc chasing Big Nyrop. The play, though, came back out center ice again. Actually bounced up toward the crowd. And the face-off stays still in the Montreal end. The circle off to the right of the Canadian goal, tended by Kenny Dryden. So unless the Red Wings come back with 8 goals and hold Montreal off the board, the big game for them will be next Tuesday night at the Forum in Montreal. I think the Wings themselves figured that they could win one of the two here at Olympia, and they were on their way to doing just that for the first 12-13 minutes of this one. And then Canadians came to life with those 2 short-handed goals. Paul Woods covered up his man. Billy Lahead centering pass didn't get out. It stays in the Montreal end, but here now the Canadians move 3 men out. Gainey back into the Detroit zone. Pass went through Hamel by Hull. Hamel knocked Hull's return pass away. It came to the line, and Nyrop missed it there. He got back quickly with Paul Woods really moving on the play. Here's Hamel taking a loose puck. He just rolls it down the ice. Went off a Canadian player, so there's no icing, and LaPointe back after it. Jarvis Jarvis send it out center ice. It's Rejaan Houle with it. Houle playing it to Gainey. Reed Larson tips it away from him. They go into the corner, deep in the Montreal, or rather the Detroit end. Here's Houle digging it out in front of backhand shot fired by Jarvis. It's knocked away by Rutherford. And Engblom back at center ice with it. Now Larry Robinson's pass broken up by John Hamel. Canadians pick it up. Here's Steve Shutt. He drove a shot. And Larson deflected that. It flipped into the air. Rutherford handed it off to Bill Lahead. Now McCourt's pass off a skate. The Canadians, Lafleur has it. Lafleur has Lemaire going over the line. Fakes the shot. Gives it now to Steve Shutt, and he shot wide. The Canadians just rolling in like it's practice. Billy Lahead missed it. Lafleur keeps it in. Here's Lemaire. He drove a shot, and the save made by Rutherford. And Shutt shot the rebound wide. Paul Woods took it off the boards. Played it in behind his goal. Reed Larson just sent it back to the line. Larry Robinson has it there. His pass, a wild one. Hamel, though, didn't get it out. It bounced away from Laroche, comes to center ice. Engblom checked, and they play bouncing around at center ice. This is more of a shinny game than anything else right now, with the Canadians in control. Hamel tied up his man in the Detroit zone, kicking away at the puck. Finally just lifted it out center ice. It slides back into the Montreal zone. Back after it, Engblom. Playing it now to Larry Robinson. He lost it to Lahead. Lahead hooked it into the corner. Engblom went in to cover up. San Laurent kept it in. His pass too far for Lahead. Wings try to hold it in the Montreal zone, but they don't do it. Larouche clears ahead. Moving out with it now, Rysbrough. Rysbrough and Lafleur. Rysbrough took the shot. Rutherford blocked that. Giroux failed to get it out. Robinson hands it off to Lafleur. Lafleur giving it now to Larouche. He took the shot and went behind the Detroit net. Puck is in along the netting back of the Red Wing goal. They'll bring the face-off out over the Detroit Red Wing line. So a pause in the action. 7-0 Montreal. We'll be back in a moment.
Did you know Amco's the world's largest transmission specialist? That's right, #1. Think about it. You don't get to be #1 unless you're doing something right, something your customers like free towing when you have transmission trouble, one-day service in most cases, an estimate to approve before they start the work, and a lot of other right things. So remember, AA beep beep, MCO. Amco does it right.
So the Wings down by 7 goals and 3 minutes and 25 seconds still to play here in the second period. Now Errol Thompson of Detroit crosses the center ice line, wheeled it in behind the Montreal goal. Kenny Dryden was dumped by his own man Robinson back there. The puck loose to Thompson in the corner to San Laurent. Andre San Laurent rolled it. Thompson couldn't get a stick on it, though. Mondo cleared it away from him. It'll be back along the line for Larry Giroux. He played it in behind the Canadian net again. Thompson has it there. Errol Thompson's hauled down. There's going to be a penalty coming up to Montreal on the delayed call. Here now Tommy Bergman off the circle to San Laurent. Back to Bergman with a shot. That's blocked. Came right back to Bergman. He set up Thompson and his shot blocked. And then Polonich was driven off the puck right out in front of the net. And as Montreal controls a penalty called in Detroit, we'll have another power play opportunity. Engblom will go off.
And what protection they give Dryden. Dryden, anything that bounces off Dryden, there's a Montreal defenseman to jump on it or to clear it away from the danger part of the ice surface. And the difference probably in the game is the fact that Jimmy Rutherford hasn't had anyone clearing pucks for him. The minute they get a chance to put it in the net in Detroit's end, the defensemen are the ones that are really out or beaten out of their positions and beaten on the play.
Detroit with the extra man. This is a 5th Canadian penalty, all minors. A hooking call to Ryan Engblom. 17 minutes, 15 seconds. The Wings would like to
get on the board.
Get one on the board. San Laurent, Thompson, and Polonich stay up front, and Giroux and Tommy Bergman back at the blue line. So Bobby Crum is saying the heck with it. He's going with a regular lineup.
There's a good Larry Giroux playing the point on the power play. He can shoot a puck pretty well.
Face off to the left of the Montreal goal. Was sent back to the line by Polonich. Skipped away from Giroux. He goes after a rolling puck. And it's Gainey who's going to pick it up. Brings it back into the Detroit zone. Bob Gainey goes to the corner with it. Tommy Bergman. He took a run at Bergman. Gainey went down. The puck loose to San Laurent. Now Andre San Laurent starting out. Coming out center ice. The Wings have the extra man. San Laurent over the blue line. Dumped it in behind the net, going after it, Polonich. Dennis Polonich in the corner with it. Polonich still holding it there, and it just held it long enough that LaPointe took it away from him. LaPointe didn't get it out. Tommy Bergman set up Thompson. He fanned on the shot, then rolled it in behind the net. Puck came back to the line. Larry Giroux had it there. He's down on his knees and checked immediately by Gainey. And they're going to bring the face-off out over the Montreal blue line. So Bobby Crom did not go to any sort of a power play combination. He elects to go with Tommy Bergman and Giroux. And a regular forward line of Saint Laurent, Polonich, and Harold Thompson. I guess figuring what the heck, nothing else has worked tonight.
They're just trying to find out scores in some of the other playoff games. Detroit beat Montreal 7-1 in 1955 in the finals, and Montreal come back and beat Detroit 8-1 in the 1958 semifinals. So there have been a lot of goals scored at times between these two teams.
Polonich carried back in, dumped it into the corner. Harold Thompson took a shot way wide. Giroux trying to keep it in. He did. He kicked it into the corner, but LaPointe will go in after it. And he clears it to the blue line. It bounced away from Polonich. Comes out center ice. Then Polonich handed it to Riceborough. Here's Riceborough going back in. Riceborough dumped it right to the net, and Rutherford had to handle that carefully. 45 seconds remaining in the penalty. Detroit has done nothing with their power play. Larry Giroux, center ice to Tommy Bergman. Bergman over the line. He's all by himself. Dropped the puck. Polonich picked it up, took a shot. The Dryden stops. And the face-off stays in the Montreal zone. And 35 seconds remain in the Canadian penalty to Brian Engblom. Red Wings carried the play to Montreal a good portion of the first 13 minutes of the hockey game. Then with Steve shot in the penalty box, and Detroit a good opportunity, and the score 0-0. Riceborough and Gainey scored back-to-back shorthanded goals. Canadians added a power play goal. It was 3-0 Montreal. But in the second period, the Wings have not been in it. Montreal has 4 goals and lead it 7-0. Dennis Hextall won the draw. Reed Larson a quick shot, and Dryden had to move quickly to grab that one. As Larson with the wrist shot, and Dryden just grabbed it just under the crossbar. Canadians a quick change from their bench on the defense as Nyrop and Robinson come out. Kenny Dryden. He's been a good one.
Yeah, 84 playoff games. He's won 57 of them, so he'll go in the book as one of the real good goaltenders that's ever played in the National Hockey League.
Play is still in the Montreal zone. 25 seconds left in the Canadian penalty. Again, they take it to the boards and hold it. And the face-off to the right side of the Montreal goal this time. Nick Libet has been up among the leaders in the Red Wings scoring in the playoffs thus far with his 3 goals and 1 assist. He still is the fellow who has the last 3. Right from the face-off, Hextall sent it to the goal, and Dryden reached up and grabbed it. 1 minute and 8 seconds remaining in the period, 23 seconds in the penalty time to Montreal's Engblom. Puck came back toward the line, a bouncing puck. It bounced away from Reed Larson, and Larson had to move back quickly to tie up Gainey. Now Netamansky took it off the blue line, off the boards, right at his own blue line. It bounced away from him. He goes back after it. He still is having trouble with it. Brings it out now to center ice. Got Libet with him, the 2 of them over the line. Here's Nick Libet heading to the corner with it. He was skated off the puck by Larry Robinson. Lemaire played it not out. The penalty is over. Canadians are back at full strength. 40 seconds to go in the second period. And Montreal shooting it out center ice. Netamansky laid it off now to Nick Libet. Libet got it over the line. It's bouncing there right to Larry Robinson, and Montreal will bring it back out. Hextall turned Robinson around. Now he cleared it to Engblom at center ice. Engblom just turned around, shot it down the ice, and Hamel took a whack at Engblom. Reed Larson starts out. 12 seconds to go. Just shot it to the Montreal line. Larry Robinson cleared it over on the left side. Lemaire. He handed it to Paul Woods. Woods goes tripped going in, but the play was offside, and they'll bring it back out over the Canadian blue line with 4 seconds to go in the second period. 7-0, Montreal out in front. J.P. LeBlanc now. Again, he's got Woods in one wing and Hull on the other. Puck came back, and Reed Larson took a shot, deflected into the corner. as the buzzer goes to end a rather disastrous period for the Red Wings. So, the end of 2 periods of play, 7-0 Montreal. We'll be back to Olympia Stadium in just a moment.
Putting on our winter wings, enjoy the freedom skiing brings. Snow and slopes, let us fly with shadows against the sky. And then we're touching the ground, good times all around. It's a good time and you're happy. It's a good time for a blue, time for smiling. Smiles with you, smile along with you. Smile.
To you.
Montreal Canadiens lead the Detroit Red Wings 7-0 after 2 periods of play. Well, a young fellow missing this hockey game, and what a pleasant surprise he's been for the Red Wings this season is Greg Jolly. And Greg broke his wrist midway in the game that was played here Friday night, and consequently has that arm in a cast, and I would think has been taking lessons from Bud Lynch on how to get along now with the use of one hand, and he is joining Steve.
Greg, first of all, we better ask about the arm, and how did it happen? I know that you went and had a shot on net, and I think Robinson was checking you. Did you know it was broken right off the bat?
Yeah, I knew it was broken. I could feel it snap right there and then, but I got a penalty, and then I was skating out of the penalty box, and Nick Libby tried to hit me with a long pass, and it went to the corner, and as I was coming out of the corner with the puck, Robinson caught me from the blind side. As I was shooting the puck at the same time, my arms were fully extended out, and it just jammed the hand back in.
Now, have they said how long you're going to have to wear a cast? I notice your hand is really swollen. Have you had the cast changed or anything?
Well, I've had it fixed a bit today because it was too tight, and there was too much swelling, and there was getting my fingers. I get no feelings in my fingers, but I don't know. They say maybe between 12 and 14 weeks in the cast, so it's a long time. It was a serious injury, so hopefully it'll just heal well and everything will be all right.
Well, I'm sure it'll be all right, Greg. You've had a tremendous season. You were playing so well. What's it like having to sit up, up in the box up here to watch your game now and see your club down as they are, and you know what the atmosphere is in the room? Will you think Bobby Crum will be raising a little H in there, or just more or less figuring straight out?
He's got to look at the way the game developed. We haven't played as bad as what the score indicates, and it's 7-0, but they've had some pretty goals. They're playing really well, and if we could have scored in the first period, we had some great chances. If we could have scored, it might have been a different hockey game, but they're the Stanley Cup champions. They're a great team, and we've played them real well all during the whole series, and just because we're blowing one game, I don't think he's going to say too much. The team's really been working hard, and he's got to be happy with everybody.
Well, I'm sure he will too, Greg. Let's just talk about how Greg Jolly turned pro. I followed you when I was with Kansas City. Went out in Western Canada and watched you as a junior. You were the #1 draft choice of Washington, and Milt Schmidt played you, and I guess you played both forward and defense. When you heard that you were traded to Detroit, what were your feelings?
Well, I was just happy to go anyplace. I just wanted to get out of Washington because I wasn't playing well there, and I knew I couldn't play. I knew I could never play well there because just the way things developed and the pressure that they put on me and so forth. But I was really glad to come to Detroit. It's one of the original 6 teams, and it's a good hockey town, and they were building for the future also, and we've got a young team here, and hopefully I'll be part of it for a few more years.
Well, Greg, I certainly hope you will, too. Listen, when you came to Detroit, you run into a new coach this year. I thought you played very well last year with Alec Delvecchio as the manager. This year's team, there seems to be a different attitude or a different feeling. Is Bobby Crum the main reason for that?
Well, Bobby, when he came here, he had nothing to lose. He was taking a last-place team. Any place was going up, so he just said to everybody, look, come on, we know you can do a job. You can play a heck of a lot better than what you played. And in the years past, and just come on, show everybody it's time for you to go out and play some good hockey. So I think he instilled confidence in everybody, and he was a good coach, and he's helped me quite a lot.
Listen, Greg, where do you make your home?
I live in Calgary, Alberta in the off-season. I'll be going there shortly, I guess, now.
You're a farmer, I understand.
Yeah, that's right, Sid.
You don't look like a farmer. You look like a city boy. Listen, thanks for stopping by. Take care of your arm.
Thank you very much, Sid.
Very good. Now let's go back to Bruce Martin.
Okay, we thank you, Sid Abel and Greg Jolly, and I made the reference to Bud because here's a fellow that has gone through the latter half of his life doing more things well with one arm than most of us do with two, and when any player is incapacitated by the loss of use for a while of a wrist or an arm, Bud is quick to point out how he can do this, tie his shoes, and assorted other things. He's got a regular routine, and we'll have to ask Greg about that sometime. So that's it. We are midway between the second and third periods with a score 7-0 Montreal. We'll be back in just a moment.
Our love is strong, but we need the old songs and the thrill that has long departed. It's no disgrace going back to the place where the fun and the chase was started. And so we'll laugh and joke tonight, share a Coke tonight, like when rock and roll was king. We'll sing the song we used to sing. When you're singing the song, we'll sing.
This man lived in a world of naked white. When spring comes, I'll find color. But while woman blossomed, he just turned beet red. Fall brought hope. He turned burnt umber, but so did everything else. Boy, am I in trouble. This time was known as before Osmonds. Then man discovered Michigan, the one place in the world where there are Osmonds, the stores that have been making man's life more colorful ever since.
Have a bite of Osmond.
It looks like a Michigan apple to me.
The new Detroit News AM edition. Get the news good and early.
Boy, how do they write so good so early?
Please me, but I'm sure glad you changed papers.
Looking through the AM edition of the news can help you see the light.
I'm downright dazzled.
So if you're tired of starting the day the same old way, try the new AM edition of the news.
I take it you're through with the other paper?
I'll say.
The new Detroit News AM edition at newsstands at 6:30 every morning. It's the first good news of the day.
Hi, y'all. It's Gratiot Auto's birthday, and we're having a sale to celebrate. We've cut prices so you can enjoy tremendous savings on parts and accessories.
All tires and wheels mounted free. High-speed computerized balancing is also available. Hurry to Gratiot's birthday sale.
It's the biggest birthday sale we've ever had. Happy birthday, Gratiot Auto.
Save on tires, wheels, and more during Gratiot's birthday sale, going on now at all locations, including the newest in Woodhaven.
Time now for Sid's Corner, brought to you by your Metro Detroit AMC dealers and your Metro Detroit Jeep dealers, where Sid fields the questions that we toss his way. And Sid, I think the big one is, what happened?
How do you stop a machine? I guess would be the best way to say it, Bruce. Montreal's they're just doing everything right. The Wings, after they got behind, can't do anything right. I guess that'd be the best way to say it. They're a great hockey club, and they're showing Detroit now why they finished in first place and had so many points during the season. And the line of Lafleur and Shuttt they got on track tonight. Lafleur has got a couple goals and a couple assists. Shuttt has scored. And when Canadians get in top, Bruce, there's not much you can do. Just hope that the clock will keep spinning and get this game over with. Get regrouped. I'm sure Bobby Crom is thinking of, well, let's regroup and see what we can do when we go to Montreal for Tuesday night.
And I think in the back of their minds, too, Sid, and I'm sure they're talking about it in the dressing room right now, let's not be embarrassed any more than we are right now.
Oh, I'm sure of that. I'm sure that he was talking about that all during the second period. But how do you turn a team off? I mentioned the fact that the Canadians would love to roll up 12 or 14 or as many goals as they can get. They don't care about the poor team getting beaten so bad. And I'm sure that Bobby Crom is telling his players, hey, they have enough. If we can't get on the board, let's stop them from scoring goals. But that's a pretty tough thing to do, too.
First period was rather evenly played with until the 13-minute mark, and I've said it before, but I firmly believe that Detroit actually carried the play a good part of the time. But before it was over, 2 short-handed goals and then a power play goal by Montreal, and it was 3-0, though the Canadians actually just outshot the Wings by 1, 9-8. The second period, a far different story, with Montreal 18 shots and Detroit had only 7. And where the Canadiens scored their 4 goals in the period, they could have had 2, 3, 4 more.
Yeah, you can't fault Jimmy Rutherford for any of the goals in the second period. He was cleanly beaten on plays that were pass plays where he was playing one player and they'd pass over to another and he'd shoot it in the net. The wings aren't playing positional hockey now. They're getting their defensemen trapped. The forwards are running all over. And the Canadiens don't seem to lose track of their positions. They go up and down their own wings all night long, and they just pass the puck beautiful, and they're making it look so easy. And I guess they're showing that they are a great hockey club.
And we'll be back with more right after this.
I'm the owner of this great-looking car. It's my new AMC Concorde DL, and you know, I didn't spend a penny extra for all this luxury. Smart.
Individual reclining seats, plush interior, all standard. Can I pick a luxury compact? Smart.
A smooth, quiet ride, the nicest luxury of all. Standard on my Concorde. Smart.
The AMC Concorde DL, America's new luxury compact, and its owners?
Smart.
Trailing by a score of 7-0, the Red Wings getting set to come back out onto the ice to face the Montreal Canadiens. Sid, you mentioned the fact that the Wings were not playing positional hockey. You've got a young team, you fall behind, you're in a semi-state of shock, 3-0, then 4, 5. And it seems to me every goal that Montreal scored, the Wings tried that much more to be an offensive hockey team and completely forgot Mr. Rutherford and any portion of the defensive part.
Well, that's what happened, Bruce. When you get behind, first thing you know, you start carrying the puck and trying to move into their zone, and you throw all caution to the wind. Well, they continually got trapped, and you just don't get trapped against this Montreal Hockey Club. They got somebody in motion at all the time. And even with them ahead 7-0, you don't find Robinson and Savard and those fellas coming in deep into Detroit zone. They're still playing defense. They stop the Wings in center ice. The Wings can't get in close to Dryden on a few occasions they have, but not too often. They're just doing everything right.
So the third period is going to be one of interest from at least that standpoint. We'll see what either of the two teams does. So that's it. That's Sid's Corner, brought to you by your Metro Detroit AMC dealers and your Metro Detroit Jeep dealers. 7-0 Montreal, the start of the third period in just a moment.
Ah, the endless possibilities of Peschke meats and your imagination. Imagine a new way to enjoy that summertime standby, Peschke hot dogs. Prepare them your favorite way. Add bits of green pepper or whatever you like to your favorite kind of melted American processed cheese and pour. Your imagination makes it possible. Peschke makes it perfect.
Peschke makes it perfect, 'cause Peschke really cares.
Your small outboard hunt is finally over. You've found the Chrysler Tigers. Purr with the 4, run with the new 6 or 8, and move with the Chrysler Sailors, made specially for sailboats. Why buy a pussycat when you can unleash a Chrysler?
Wolverine Championship Harness Racing is back at DRC. For only $250, you can have an evening's fun watching the world's top horses and drivers on one of the world's fastest mile tracks. Have dinner or a snack, or just stay at the finish line and cheer them on. But don't miss the excitement of Wolverine Championship Racing at DRC. And now it's even easier to get to. Just take the new Jeffries Freeway to the Inkster or Middle Belt exit. The action starts 8 p.m. every night except Sunday. And fun, you can bet on.
Hello, I'm Fred Drendel. I'd like to tell you about our new service policies. Competitive pricing. We've lowered our service prices on all service items your car needs most often. Guaranteed prices. We quote you a guaranteed price in advance, no hidden charges. Fast, dependable service. Most repairs take about 2.5 hours. Payment convenience. We accept most all major credit cards and personal checks. We are geared to service you better at Fred Drendel Lincoln Mercury.
As you look at Jimmy Rutherford donning the mask, it's been a long first 2 periods in that Detroit net. But I think one of the fine things, Sid, as the Red Wings came back out onto the ice just a moment or two ago to play what could well be their final 20 minutes of hockey this season at Olympia Stadium, this crowd gave them a great ovation.
They certainly did, and I'm sure that the players and the coaching and management all appreciate that, because the crowd here has been wonderful all year long. And one thing that I really appreciate tonight, Bruce, we haven't had one thing thrown on the ice. No octopi, no paper, no anything at all. And I think they just went too far the first game with it. And
well, the rest
right
of the
out.
crowd was getting very disgusted with those few people that didn't know when to quit. So the play is back into the Detroit zone. A pass that was knocked away from Jarvis. Both teams are at full strength, and it comes back out center ice. Guy Lapointe lifts it up, dumps it right back into the Detroit end. Tommy Bergman handing it off to Reed Larson. The wings have Hextall, Libet, and Nedemansky up front. Puck bouncing away from Libet. He took a second whack at it, got it out center ice. Hextall's pass broken up by Jarvis. Libet picked it up, took it to the line, and a shot that's right on, and Dryden knocks that away. Jarvis stops it. Here's Gainey back into the Detroit zone. He fired the shot. Tommy Bergman deflected that to the corner. Nedemansky's pass, a weak one. Gainey drove it back into the Detroit end, and Larson is in after it. Now Reed Larson ahead to Hextall. Dennis Hextall lost it to Mondo. Covering up Larson, the Canadian Steve Shutt drove it right back into the Detroit end. Rutherford out of his goal, stopping it behind the net for Tommy Bergman. His pass way out in front of Paul Woods. It slides back into the Montreal end. Ryan Engblom going after it. Woods has him tied up. Puck rolls back to the Detroit line. Hamel took a whack at it, but Guy Lafleur will hold it there. His pass picked off by Harper. Harper's pass, McCourt couldn't get to that. Canadians shoot it back to the Detroit end. There'll be an icing call as Hamel is back to touch it. And the play will come into the Montreal zone. And we have played now 1 minute 27 seconds of the third period. Kenny Dryden, who has knocked away all of the 15 shots the Wings have fired in his direction thus far. Canadians scored on 7 of their 27 shots at the Detroit net. Dale McCourt now with Billy Lahat and Paul Woods. Rysbrough goes in against McCourt. Puck stayed right there in the circle. It's tangled up in the skates of Rysbrough. The referee, Dave Newell, whistles it down. And we'll go through the face-off again to the left side of the Montreal goal. Bobby Crum looking on from behind the Montreal bench. This has to be one of the lower points in his year with the Red Wings. John Hamel played it in toward the corner. Engblom goes in behind his own net, drilled it along the boards. Harper keeps it in. Slid it into the corner again. Engblom circling in behind Dryden out on the right side for Cournoyer. Cournoyer's pass tipped away by Billy Lahat. Back after it is Hamel. Now Jean Hamel handed it off to Paul Woods. He fell down, gets up, still in the Detroit zone. Harper banged it off the boards back to the Canadian line. Larry Robinson, Engblom, and now Cournoyer. In Cournoyer pulled it back over the line, and Lambert went in offside. So again, a pause in the action. Montreal 7, Detroit nothing, and we'll be back in just a moment.
It's here, a very special beer from Labatt's. Labatt's Special Light, naturally brewed beer with 1/3 fewer calories than our regular beer. Labatt's Special Light, a very special beer brewed for lightness, refreshing, less filling beer with real Canadian beer taste. Labatt's Special Light, a very special beer.
For your customized advertising and promotional needs, including pens, glassware, desk accessories, T-shirts, lighters, imprinted golf and sportswear, you call Alex at 534-4800. Canadians lead it 7-0. 17 minutes, 45 seconds to go. Andre Saint-Laurent is failed to hold the pass at center ice. Canadians cleared it back to the Detroit line. Back out center ice, and Guy Lafleur turns back at his own blue line. Dropped it behind Savard. It goes deep into the Montreal end. Savard failed to work it out. Dennis Polonich couldn't get a stick on it. He was checked. Loopy in a long pass, broken up center ice by Errol Thompson. Turned around immediately by Laroche. And finally now it's Polonich. Saint-Laurent. He took it into the Montreal end, goes into the corner after it. Tried to center it. That's broken up. Here's Lafleur coming back. Now 2-on-1. Lafleur and Shutt, the two of them over the line. And Lafleur took the shot, hit the goalpost. It's loose right out in front. And coming in, Laroche just shot it right into Jimmy Rutherford, who was down on the ice. Canadians should have had their 8. Now here is Errol Thompson. Thompson's pass stopped by Jarvis. Jarvis and Lafleur. Lafleur over the line. Fakes the shot. Pulls up at the blue line. Dumped it out in front. Jarvis checked there by Harper. Puck is still loose. Lupien has it. Now Big Lupien sent it back to Gainey. He shot it in behind the Detroit net, and Tommy Bergman takes it. Tommy Bergman starting out. Here's Bergman sliding it down the ice. He was hit heavily by Gainey. And the puck slides in behind the Montreal net. There'll be an icing call, and they'll come right back to the Detroit zone. Well, the Canadiens had two golden opportunities, banged one off the post, and then Rutherford down on the ice. Laroche had a wide-open goal, shot it right into the Detroit netminder.
That shows that they're still trying to score goals, Bruce.
I'll tell you.
You still have to be careful and play your positional hockey. You don't make mistakes against this team.
Quick shot by Nyrop. That deflected off J.P. LeBlanc into the corner. Poole went in after it. Played it to the side of the Detroit net. Cameron has trouble back there. Jarvis checking well up the ice. It's loose. Finally, Cameron dug it away. Here's Al Cameron to LeBlanc. Three-man rush. A left-wing pass for Dennis Hall. It bounced away from him. Guy Lapointe in behind his own net. Cleared it on the left side, and with it now is Gainey. Gainey's pass to Houle into the Detroit zone. Rejaan Houle left it for Gainey. He was checked by Reed Larson, and Dennis Hall takes it in behind his own goal. Now Hall turning away from Riceboro's check. And Hull lost it. Riceboro tipped it along the boards. Reed Larson didn't get it out. Got it a second time. It came out in front of the Detroit net, but Cameron clears it to center ice. Pass went off LeBlanc's skate, and Hull takes it again in the center ice zone. Bounced it off to the side of the Montreal net. Nyrop goes back after it. He hands it to Lambert. Lambert's pass too far for Riceboro. Larry Giroux played it off Cameron's skate. Riceboro digs into the corner in the Detroit end. He has it there, laid it out to Cournoyer. And it was Giroux that broke that up. Now Dennis Hall lifts it in the air, back to the Canadian blue line. Montreal's Cournoyer has it. Cournoyer playing it back into the Detroit end. Giroux goes back after it. Wheeling it along the boards on the right side. It's Reed Larson who just cleared it out center ice. Canadians come back after it. Lambert turning back in his own zone. Brian Engblom played it to the Detroit line. Giroux knocks it down there. He starts Dennis Hull out. Hull was knocked off his skate. The wings clear it ahead. Here's Billy Lahette trying to cut in. Turned away from Robinson's check. Puck came all the way back out center ice. Giroux tapped it along the board. Paul Woods digging in after it, but it's tapped away from him. Canadiens, Lambert, checked by Billy Lahette. He played it back into his own zone. Hamel swings it out now. Woods pass. Lahette couldn't get to that. Canadiens have it. Mondo on the right side now to Guy Lafleur. They've got Lafleur on this ice a lot. Here's Larry Robinson. He played it off the linesman in behind the Detroit net. Rutherford stopped it there. Larry Giroux goes after it. Now Dale McCord and Giroux. Giroux hands it off to John Hamel. He played it too far for Paul Woods. Canadians clear it over on the right side, and Lafleur went in after it. He played it toward the corner. Dale McCourt goes in with Mondu. They hold it to the boards off to the side of the Detroit goal. So the score, a pause in the action, and the score 7-0 Montreal. We'll be back in just a moment.
People who truly appreciate music appreciate the sound shops at Highland.
We have played 6 minutes and 10 seconds of the third period. Canadians well out in front in the hockey game. Detroit with Dennis Hextall, Netamansky, and Libet now. Cameron and Harper face off to the left of the Detroit goal. Hextall wins the draw. Cameron swings it along the boards on the right side. Netamansky didn't get it out. It went up into the Detroit bench. So the face-off, well, it was deflected there by a Canadian stick, evidently, and they'll bring the face-off out over the Detroit blue line. This has been the quietest Olympia Stadium crowd we've heard in quite some time. Play back into the Detroit end. Cameron swings in behind his own goal. Now Cameron drops it there for Dennis Hextall. Hextall hands it back to Cameron. He shot it by everybody. That'll go down the ice, and there'll be another icing call. And this time Savard is back to touch it. The play will come right back into the Detroit end.
You know, probably the toughest thing to answer, a coach to answer, is when things start going wrong, why do all the players make mistakes? You know, you can see or understand maybe a couple of players having an off night. But this is one of the deals that nobody has the answer in hockey. It just seems when there's a collapse by a hockey club, all 19 hockey players go sour at the same time. There's nothing to say the Wings won't go to Montreal and turn things right around again.
Puck was stopped at the line. It's still in the Detroit zone. Rejaan Houle checked by Cameron, still dug it away, but Hextall goes in to cover up. He played it into the corner now to Terry Harper. Harper swinging it out center ice, back after Savard of Montreal at his own blue line to Lupien. Terry Harper stopped that. Hextall moved in ahead of Harper's pass. That's offside, and they'll come back out over the Canadian blue line. We've played just less than 7 minutes of the third period, and the score is 7-0, Montreal. Well, Teddy Lindsay, I don't think City's ever shown what you could call a heck of a lot of emotion one way or the other.
No, he is very pleased with the way this hockey club came along this year, and naturally he doesn't like to lose, but when you're playing against a club like the Canadiens, I think he realized that they have a great job ahead of them.
Now it's Reed Larson back at his own blue line, coming out center ice, dumping it back into the Montreal zone. Savard, he lost it to Libet. Libet, nobody's out in front of the goal, nobody even moving in front, and the Canadians come right back. Savard. Savard's pass to LaRouche, and that play went in offside. So again, a pause in the action. Canadians lead the game 7-0, and we shall be back in just a moment.
How does the Bank of the Commonwealth help me? Well, I got my checking and my savings there, but more important, when I need help, they really understand me. I mean, this guy here, he's studying law, and this bum, oh, he's into medicine. I mean, every old man wants his kid to do better than he did. So, between my back and my bank, my kid's got a future. Hey, Doc, start operating.
Trying hardest to help. That's the Bank of the Commonwealth.
My son, the judge.
Here's the Sony 5-inch black and white TV. 100% solid-state circuitry, extremely stable picture, a glare-free screen for indoor-outdoor viewing. Since this Sony weighs only about 13 pounds, whenever you go on a road trip, your favorite team can go right with you. Dennis Polonich, a long bouncing shot that Dryden stops easily. Guy Lapointe firing it back out center ice. Errol Thompson's pass off the skate of Saint Laurent. Andre Saint Laurent turning at his own blue line. Worked around Riceboro. Saint Laurent into the Canadian zone. He's checked. Errol Thompson dumped the shot. Dryden deflects that away. Along the riser, Saint Laurent played it to the corner. Polonich is there. Larson cutting in. And Polonich shot it way behind the net. Puck comes all the way back out center ice. Riceboro to Cornwallier. If he wasn't offside, he was pretty doggone close to it. Linesman was nowhere near the play. Here's Nyrop. Bill Nyrop dumped the shot. Rutherford clears that to the corner. They go in along the boards and hold it there. Referee didn't stop it. It came back to the line. There's Lapointe with a shot. Rutherford stops it. And then Cornwallier shot the rebound wide of a half-empty net. Polonich right back off the skate of Errol Thompson. Coming back, Riceboro playing it into the Detroit end. Reed Larson has it. Now he's got Thompson at center ice. Thompson swings it along the boards. In behind the Montreal goal, and Nyrop is in after it. Nyrop's pass came back out center ice. Larry Giroux had to wait with Polonich coming back. And they hold it to the boards, and a face-off stays in the center ice zone.
The Wings' big problem, I know what they would like to do. They would like to get on the board. They don't like the fact that Dryden would shut them out.
Dale McCourt, Billy Lahat, and now Paul Woods. Mondo is checked by Jean Hamel. Hamel wraps it in behind the Canadian net. Dryden sent it into the corner. Engblom failed to hold it there. Lahat put it out in front, but the only man there is Mondo. Pierre Mondo and Guy Lafleur. Lafleur rolls it out center ice. Back after Dale McCourt. A rink-wide pass on the right side for Giroux. Billy Lahat's pass. Lafleur intercepts that. Back at the Canadian line, it's Engblom moving with it. Hamel knocked it away from him. It was trapped up in Hamel's path. He was knocked to the ice. Referee stopped the play. And the face-off in the center ice zone. Nothing. 10 minutes, 44 seconds to go. Canadiens lead. Puck bouncing back into the Montreal end. Larry Robinson took a swing at it and came back in. Now coming right back out with it, Steve Shuttt. Shuttt, Lafleur, and Mondo. Over the line, Steve Shuttt. Shuttt put it out in front. There's a Lafleur with it, but he never got the good shot away. First item thrown on the ice, a frisbee. Puck goes back into the corner, and the crowd yelled and was sent right into the Detroit bench. Here's Guy Lafleur back into the Detroit zone. Lafleur goes to the corner, pulls up along the boards. Lafleur put it out in front, and it was tipped away by Giroux, picked up by Robinson. Larry Robinson centered it, and that's stopped by Billy Lahead. Now Lahead starts back. Back into the Canadian end. His pass broken up. Here comes Lafleur and Mondo. And the puck stopped at center ice. Lafleur reached back, hands it to Engblom, back into the Detroit zone. Moving out in front, taken away by Hamel. Terry Harper. Harper pumped heavily by Lafleur, and Lafleur comes up with a puck. Guy Lafleur holding it at center ice, waiting for somebody, and it was knocked away from him by J.P. LeBlanc. LeBlanc moves in with it, and then he was checked by Robinson. Canadians start back. Gainey at his own blue line, handing it back to Robinson in the Montreal end. Canadians haven't really been pressuring as much here in the third period. Puck bouncing off the boards, too far for Gainey. Rutherford came out to play it away. Now Reed Larson ahead to J.P. LeBlanc, and Jarvis intercepts. It's Lupien at his own blue line, handing it to Savard. Canadians have the play, coming out center ice. Lupien dumping it too far for Houle. It goes in behind the Detroit net, and Tommy Bergman in after it. Bergman right out in front of his own goal, a left wing pass, and Dennis Hull failed to get to that. He was there, but just didn't play it. Canadians pick it up deep in their own zone, and J.P. LeBlanc went in, took it away. He goes into the corner, but he's checked there by Savard, and Canadians clear it back out center ice. Harper shot it back in, and Reed Larson, who's out on the right wing, was way up the ice and offside. The pause in the action. The score 7-0 Montreal. We'll be back in just a moment.
Little Caesar's Pizza. Nobody loves it like a kid. 1, 2, 3. Nobody loves it like Little Caesar's Pizza. Nobody loves it like my favorite treat. Nobody loves it like I do. Little Caesar's Pizza.
Look for our ad in the news and free press TV books for a free pizza.
Play will be out over the Canadian blue line. 8.5 minutes to go, 8:33 exactly in the third period. Dennis Hextall, Netamansky, and Libet now. And the Canadians have Cornwallis, Laroche at center, and Riceborough out on the left wing. Puck came out center ice. Larry Giroux stops it there, swings it off to Jean Hamel. Now Hextall turning. Dennis Hextall, Giroux tipped it into the Montreal zone. Stopped it at the blue line again. That puck bounced right to the goal, knocked away by Dryden. Here's Libet going in after it. He rolled it in the corner to Hextall. Netamansky, he was checked trying to swing in behind the net. And the Canadians will come out with it. Lupien playing it behind Cornwallis. Puck comes back to the Detroit blue line. And Detroit's pass tipped back into the Montreal zone. Lupien goes back after it. Joe Lupien dropped it in behind his own goal for Serge Savard. Now Savard just holding it there. Coming out with a pass out to center ice for Riceborough. Cornwallis on the move, but Giroux intercepted. His pass went behind Hextall. Now Netamansky brings it back in. His pass to Hextall. Dennis Hextall trying to roll it out in front. It went to the corner. And Netamansky pulling up from the check, lost it there. Hextall gets into it, though. He played it to Hamel. It bounced off him to Laroche, and Laroche sends it down the ice. Larry Giroux will go back after it, circling out in front of Jimmy Rutherford. Now here's Jean Hamel picking it up, ripping down the left side into the Montreal zone. And he was hooked off the puck by Mondo. Savard lost it to Hextall. Hextall swinging it along the boards, but it'll be taken by Lambert, who just shoots it out center ice. Harold Thompson handing it back to Jean Hamel. He shot from center ice. And Dryden to put that one up into the crowd. I am going to be very interested, Sid. in hearing the end of this game to see the reaction of this crowd. A pause in the action. The score 7-0 Montreal. We'll be back in a moment.
No matter what kind of car you buy, no matter where you buy it, nobody can give you more effective rust-proofing than Polyguard, the rust-proofing system from Polyoleum, with a positive 5-year limited repair or replace warranty, with no mileage restriction. When you want a new car, see your car dealer. When you want professional rust-proofing, see your Polyoleum professional. Better than all the rust. Check the yellow pages for the Polyoleum dealer nearest you.
Andre Saint-Laurent in against Riceborough, rather Mondo. Puck stays in the Montreal zone. A backhander from the blue line knocked away before it ever got through, and now Canadians come back with Lambert. Reed Larson tipped it off his stick behind the Detroit net. Rutherford played it into the corner, and it's Errol Thompson clearing ahead now to Saint-Laurent. Saint-Laurent's pass is way behind Polonich, and the Canadians will take over. Coming back, Guy Lapointe. Here's Lambert breaking over the line. Lambert pulling up along the circle, took a shot, knocked away. And it's Reed Larson who came back in to tip it away from Houle. Now they play broken up again. Wings will bring it out, though. Here's Tommy Bergman. He fell down, still handed it back to Errol Thompson. Polonich over the line. He shot it way wide. Saint-Laurent along the board, swinging it in behind the Canadian goal. It goes off the circle to Polonich. Polonich rolled it along the board. Saint-Laurent in the corner. And he couldn't get it out in front. Canadians cover up with Mondo. He lost it to Saint-Laurent. He centered it, but it covering up was Nairop. And the Canadians bring it back out center ice. The pace has slowed down considerably, the part of both teams here in the third period. And I imagine right now it's a Tuesday night game for both of these two teams. Wings lose it. Here's Lafleur picking it up, and he was checked, brought it back to the blue line, still holding it back there. Dumped it out in front. Tommy Bergman lost it, and they score. Tommy Bergman lost it right out in front of the Detroit goal, and Laroche and Steve Shuttt were there so all alone you couldn't believe it.
Well,
8-0.
that just shows when things are going wrong, Bruce. Lafleur did a couple little dipsy-doos just right on the blue of the blue line, and he just kept spinning around, and the Detroit players were content to more or less look at him, and he just kept possession of the puck, and then finally he just shot it in towards the net. In the meantime, it went right over Bergman's stick. Two players in behind him. They were just standing there waiting and watching Lafleur to see if he would get the puck in towards the net. And when he did, it was just like an automatic goal.
So Shuttt has his fourth goal in the playoffs. Larouche the assist, and I imagine he should give an assist to Lafleur again. Lafleur and Larouche draw the assist. Tommy Bergman was right there to make the play, but it just hopped away from him. Play is loose at center ice. Paul Woods plays it back now to Terry Harper. Harper's pass knocked away. Gainey swings it back into the Detroit end. Jimmy Rutherford came out to the goal to play it away from Gainey. Billy Lahead tied up by Larouche. And the Wings just shoot it down the ice. Engblom going back after it. Now Brian Engblom being checked by Dale McCourt. They take it in along the boards, and Houle went in, dug it away from the both of them. And Paul Woods drove him in along the boards. They hold it for a face-off in the circle to the right of the Montreal goal. A pause in the action. The score 8-0 Montreal. We'll be back in a moment.
Oh, I'd like to get to know ya, have a chance to show ya round for just a while. Take you to places, meet some brand new faces, share a Coke and make you smile. Coca-Cola, Coke adds life from when you see in the town. It's really nice to get to know ya, have a Coke and show ya round for just a while. Coca-Cola adds life, and everybody wants it.
Guy Lafleur coming into this hockey game with only 2 assists in the first 3 games played. And he has 2 more assists and a couple of goals here. Face off to the right of the Montreal goal. Dale McCourt in against Larouche. Harper with a shot off to the side of the net. Dryden reaching out to grab it, and he holds on.
I don't know if I'm right or not, Bruce. Lafleur has 2 goals and I believe 3 assists.
3?
He assisted on Mondo's goal. He assisted on Schatt's first goal and on Schatt's second goal, and he scored 2 goals himself. So a 5-point night is pretty good after only picking up 2 points in the first 3 games.
Couldn't read my own writing there. Face-off will be in the circle to the left of the Montreal goal. I'll tell you, when you're behind by 8 and 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the game in the third period, Harper with a shot. That hit his leg out in front. Canadians will bring it back out. Riceborough, he's checked going over the line. Paul Woods drops it back now for Al Cameron. Cameron swings it ahead to Woods. Here's Woods playing it over on the right side, but Robinson broke that up right at the Montreal line. Harper back at his own blue line, and Cameron's pass went up into the crowd. I'm going to say, when you know there's going to be a bit of a traffic jam moving out, a good many of these crowds are still here, still making noise.
Well, I'll tell you what, they stayed with this hockey club all year long, and I'm sure they're sitting here just waiting for the end, and I would think they'll give the Wings an ovation, even though they're beaten as bad as they are. I know Joe Falls had an article in the paper, I think it probably helped, where he said he'd hoped that the people wouldn't throw anything on the ice and would sit and give this club a hand, and it appears, though, that they're going to do that.
From the face-off, the Wings clear it down the ice. Larry Robinson just did get there first. And an icing call against the Wings, and the play comes back into the Detroit zone. We had 6 penalties, 3 aside in the first period, and they all hurt Detroit. Montreal scored twice when they themselves were shorthanded, and then a power play goal. Only 3 penalties in the second period. Canadians scored on their only power play chance, and the Wings did nothing when they had 2 power play opportunities. Here in the third period, there have been no penalties. And really, the third period slowing down considerably for both teams.
Oh, yes. There's been no action to speak of here in the third period at all.
So the Wings, well, I guess you'd have to say that about the whole series. Nobody gave them a chance even not only to win the series, but maybe even a game.
Right. The winning the game in Montreal, I believe, got everybody's hopes up. Yeah. They figured if they could win in Montreal, they'll certainly win a game here, and I thought that they would win one, and they had their golden opportunity to win the game here on Friday night.
And the first 13 minutes of this hockey game, they were going strong. Some of the fans are throwing paper cups and so forth on the ice, and the rest of the fans giving them the working. Here's Paul Woods coming out now, ahead to Billy Lahead over the line, moving into the Montreal zone, shoved off the puck by Cornwallis. Paul Woods took his man away. Here's Larry Giroux. His shot was blocked. Goes to the corner. Lahead played it into the opposite corner. Dale McCourt trying to get in there. Cornwallis had him covered up. Stopped at the line by Jean Amel. Puck bounced high in the air. Guy Lapointe swings it down the ice. And it'll slide, but not far enough for an icing call. Giroux has to go back and play it. Over on the left wing now to Dennis Hall. He sends it to McCourt. McCourt's return pass didn't get through. Picked up by Giroux into the Montreal zone with a shot. That's deflected wide. Now it's Rejaan Houle coming back at his own blue line. Canadians lead at 8-0. 3 minutes, 15 seconds to play, third period. Guy Lapointe sliding it back into the Detroit zone. John Amel sent it back to his own blue line. Canadians take it again, shoot it to the Detroit end. Giroux with it, he lost it. Bob Gainey with back into the Detroit zone. Toward the corner, he's checked by LeBlanc. JP shot it in behind his own net, and John Amel has it. He played it to Errol Thompson. Thompson shooting it out center ice. Canadians hold it there. Guy Lapointe. Now Nyroff. Here is Bill Nyroff. Shooting it in behind the Detroit net. It was stopped by Rutherford. Reed Larson takes it. Crowd yelling as I can hear it. Go Wings, go. Reed Larson coming on the ice. He was checked right at the Canadian blue line. Picked up by Errol Thompson. He shot it back in. Play goes in behind the Montreal net. Big Gilles Lupien in after it. Now Lupien turned away. Pass intercepted by LeBlanc. And he tried to set up Hull, and it bounced off him as he's cutting right in. They go into the corner deep in the Canadian zone. The play is stopped, and the face-off to the right of the Montreal goal. With 2 minutes and 11 seconds, and this crowd still here making noise.
And Montreal are making sure that they protect Dryden. They want to get a shutout. The defensemen are staying right back in behind their own blue line. Every time the play gets up in center ice and they lose possession of the puck, the forwards just peel right off and pick up Detroit players. They are going for a shutout. They realize that they only have a couple shifts to go.
Well, we'll be 8 o'clock with you from the Forum in Montreal Tuesday night. Hard to say what'll happen. Maybe the Wings will move in and find a complacent Montreal team there again. You just never know.
Could be.
And the Wings certainly will have nothing to lose.
Bruce, I know that this Montreal club is a good one, but they're not an 8-0 club over Detroit on any given night. This is just one of those nights.
The Clifford shot deflected wide of the Canadian net. Montreal shooting it back out center ice. Reed Larson handed it away, and Mondo shoots it back into the Detroit zone. Rutherford out of the goal, clearing it out on the left side. Hextall's pass was knocked away from Libet. Larson knocks it down, brings it back out. He shot it off to the side of the Montreal goal. Lambert goes in after it. 1:45 to go. Now the Canadiens end on, and Hextall and Lambert the sticks up high. And the two lines are moving quickly, and then Lupien came in and gave Hextall a shove from the back. And Hextall turned around there, so Lupien will more than likely also draw a penalty, though it's not all that important with 1:42 to go. Well, he has declared himself in Montreal as the policeman on this hockey team.
And he was a policeman during junior days. In fact, he was suspended half of a season for hitting a referee back when he was a junior. He's a big boy, I'll say that.
Well, he's not going to pick up anything here. So it'll be Lambert of Montreal and Hextall of Detroit going in.
And it was just a case. There's only 1:42 to go. The play along the boards, both Hextall and Lambert got their sticks up. The referee is deciding to send him into the dressing room rather than have him in the penalty box.
Penalties not yet announced, but they are minor penalties to the two of them. High sticking penalties to the two of them, Lambert and Hextall. So the time of the penalty is 18 minutes and 18 seconds. And festivities to be renewed Tuesday night at the Forum in Montreal. In what could be. And now the crowd has been so good all day long. Starting to throw a few paper cups, and somebody has come out with traditional egg, I guess.
Yeah,
I hate to say traditional egg. I mean, 400 people come in the next game with eggs and throw them.
No, but they have been remarkable all afternoon. You expect to see the odd little airplane float from the balcony. You know, years ago in Chicago, Bruce, they would have bets. Balcony people make their airplanes and see who could float it down and have it land closest to the face-off circle in center ice. And every once in a while, one would float down and land in the circle, and you'd think somebody scored a goal. There'd be a big cheer. I believe everybody in the building was aware of what they were trying to do.
Well, the press, ourselves, at the end of our broadcast last Friday night, made point of the fact that if anybody was hurt by an almost imbecilic littering of the ice, and there's 100 octopi out there, it was the Red Wings. They got out to a good start. They were leading the hockey game, and there was so delays while they cleaned up ice and so forth that the Wings just lost momentum, and the Canadiens picked it up and ended up winning the game 4-2. Puck went high up into the crowd. Both teams short one man. Nedemansky and Libet, the two Detroit forwards. Canadiens have Jarvis and Bob Gainey. Play in the Montreal zone. It went in behind the net. Savard, his pass tipped away, but the Canadiens will bring it out with Gainey. Jarvis turning at his own blue line with it. Now Jarvis working away from Libet. Jarvis handing it back to Larry Robinson. Robinson slid it to the Detroit line. It got by Reed Larson, rolls deep into the Detroit end. Larson trying to work away from Jarvis. Larson now got by Gainey, but he was tied up. Sent the puck all the way back into his own end. 1 minute and 5 seconds to go. Gainey checking Larson, and the puck sent down the ice. Larson got it there. 1 minute to go in the third period and in the hockey game. And still a lot of the fans still here at Olympia Stadium. Now here's Bob Gainey coming out. Bob Gainey dumping it off the boards back into the Detroit zone, going after it, John Hamel. Hamel turning off to the side of his own net and starting out, turning away from Ricebro's set. Handing it now to Larry Giroux. And Giroux's pass knocked down. A half a minute to play. Ricebrow shooting it back into the Detroit end. This crowd is getting up on its feet. Up on the feet and making noise. Larry Giroux ahead to Nedemansky. Nedemansky over the line with a shot. Oh, and he sailed it just wide. Canadians clear it to the line, and Giroux couldn't keep it in. Shot it in offside.
And that's probably as close as they've come to scoring here in the third period. That puck just missed, and they're giving the players a standing ovation. Talk about sending chills up your back. Losing 8-0. And it's just, you'd think that they were winning the Stanley Cup.
We have but 13 seconds remaining in what could but doesn't necessarily have to be the final home game of the season. And some of the fans again littering the ice with little paraphernalia here or there. And there is the first bad move I've seen, somebody throwing a can down. Go, Wings, go. 13 seconds remaining. Referee knew was just going to let him play. The heck with the fans. From the face-off, San Laurent bounced it. There's a shot right on. Dryden had to make the save. Puck came back toward the line. John Hamel sent it off to the side of the net. It came out in front. And Ricebrow takes it to the corner as the buzzer goes to end the hockey game. Let's listen to the crowd. Let's listen. We were looking at the Detroit bench because they were over there congratulating the players as they headed in. Montreal with just 5 shots on goal in the third period, and the Red Wings also at 5, but we'll recap that for you a little later. Sid, when we come back, I'd like to talk about the last time that you, as a player, coach, or general manager, lost a game 8-0 and then were cheered all the way off the ice. That's it. The end of the game, the final score. Montreal 8, Detroit 0. We'll be back in just a moment.
Little Caesar's Pizza, tastiest in town. A winner and we slice it all the way around. The carry-outs are good and hot, great for nighttime snacks. Or sit down at Little Caesar's, just order and relax. If you want variety, there's a family in for you. It's a winner, come in and see Little Caesars.
Look for our ad in the news and free press TV books for a free pizza.
What is it about the owners of the AMC Pacer wagon that sets them apart?
My Pacer really makes heads turn. Plus, inside there's room you'd expect in a bigger car. Smart.
Rack and pinion steering, wide track, both in my Pacer wagon. Smart.
The short hood makes parking a snap, and I love the rear hatch and all the room in my wide Pacer. Smart.
The AMC Pacer wagon. It's big inside where it counts, and that makes its owners
smart.
Labatt's introduces a bright new light. Labatt's Special Light, naturally brewed beer with 1/3 fewer calories than our regular beer. Labatt's Special Light, a very special beer brewed for lightness, refreshing, less filling beer with real Canadian beer taste. Labatt's Special Light, a very special beer.
The new Detroit News AM edition. Open wide and say ah.
Ooh, now that's news.
Hey.
Looking through the AM edition of the news can help you see the light.
I'm downright dazzled.
It'll open your eyes and get you up for the day.
Gee, the other paper never did this for me.
The new Detroit News AM edition at newsstands at 6:30 every morning. It's the first good news of the day.
Hey, you really ought to try this.
What may well be the final home game of the season for the Detroit Red Wings, in this, the fourth game of Stanley Cup play against Montreal Canadiens, fourth game in the quarterfinals. The Red Wings soundly defeated 8-0, and yet, Sid, you ever remember a crowd making noise like this after a team has been shellacked?
I can't recall it, no. I mean, it's a tribute to the fans here in Detroit. I would say if there was a first star today, it should be the fans for the way they handled a team that was losing 8-0. When you have your own club out there, and they stayed with them right to the bitter end, and when you get a standing ovation leaving the ice, it really must make the players feel great, and Bobby Crom, they'll go in now and figure, all right, fellas, the crowd is that good. Let's regroup and see if we can straighten things out in Montreal.
So that's what remains. The game Tuesday night at the Forum in Montreal. The Detroit Red Wings and the Canadiens, with Montreal now taking a rather commanding 3-1 lead, and two of those three victories right here at Olympia Ice. If the Wings were to have won a game, you would have thought it would be here, that they whipped the Canadiens last time out on the Forum Ice. Can they do it again? Well, according to the Montreal performance today, no. But according to the Red Wing performance at Montreal the last game, it's possible.
It's possible, but you wouldn't think that they could. But they played so well up in Montreal when they were there last week that they're liable to go in and do it again.
Well, they'll be loose. There's no question about that. So that's it. The final score here at Olympia Sтэдиум, Montreal Canadiens 8, the Detroit Red Wings nothing. Join us now, won't you, Tuesday night at 8 o'clock when the Red Wings will be meeting the Montreal Canadiens in game number 5. Till then, this is Bruce Martin, along with Sid Abel, saying goodbye from Olympia Sтэдиум.
Detroit's Red Wing Hockey is brought to you in part by Labatt's. For beer at its finest, call for Labatt's, Canada's #1 beer. And by your Metro Detroit AMC dealers, the only place you can buy Concord, the all-new luxury compact. And by Little Caesars, a winner any way you slice it. And by Bank of the Commonwealth, trying hardest to help.
Red Wing Hockey has been sponsored by the Detroit Hockey Club Incorporated and the National Hockey League. Don Adams and Barbara Feldon star in Get Smart. Weeknights at 6, just before Room 222, here on Channel 20, WXON-TV, Detroit.
The post-game show is brought to you by your local Detroit Coca-Cola bottling company. Coke adds life to Red Wing Hockey.
Someone's playing a guitar on the rooftop, and being up here with you girls out of sight, the city sounds are humming, and Coke adds life to a guitar strumming, 'cause Coke adds life and everybody wants a little life. I'm glad that I'm a city boy tonight. Coke adds life and everybody wants a little life.
Sid, a very close, well-played hockey game till 13 minutes had gone by in the first period, and then bang, bang, 24 seconds apart, Montreal with two shorthanded goals, and from that point on, it was all over.
Well, that spoiled the hockey game. Shuttt receiving a penalty, Montreal scoring the two shorthanded goals you mentioned, Bruce, and the Wings never recovered at all after that. You just don't make mistakes against this hockey club because they know what to do with the puck, and they skated all night long, even though they had a very comfortable lead. They just check, play their positions, and they made the Wings look bad by doing that, and the Wings just couldn't get anything going at all.
Well, if Coach Bobby Crom holds to his regular rotation in the last half of the season, we'll be taking a look at Big Ron Lowe in the nets for the Red Wings come next Tuesday night, which, of course, will be our next telecast, broadcast out of the Forum in Montreal. Sid has reached into the bag to pull out a Red Wing star after losing 8-0. We'll be back with that after we pause for this. Sid, when you lose a game 8-0, it would indicate normally a rather listless, lethargic effort on the part of a team. I don't think it was really all of that.
No, it possibly was in the third period, but the game was definitely out of hand then. You know, I made an all-Montreal night, Bruce. I'm going to pick a star, a player that was a Montreal player that Detroit acquired in their free agent draft last summer, Paul Woods. I thought he was the only one that skated and worked pretty well all night long and did have a couple scoring chances.
Okay, and as he has been in previous games, too, according to the fans here at Olympia, Sid chooses Paul Woods as the Detroit Red Wing star of this hockey game. So Paul receives an ice chest filled with Coca-Cola, compliments of the Detroit Coca-Cola Bottling Company. Montreal Canadiens lead the series 3-1, the fourth, or rather the fifth game, and what could be the final game of the year for Detroit, unless they can whip the Canadiens at the Forum in Montreal, will be Tuesday night. We hope to see you then. Our post-game show is brought to you by your local Detroit Coca-Cola Bottling Company. Coke adds life to Red Wing hockey.
That's the Schweitzer gal.